Morning, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. McBride, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes.
The defendant says he was merely protecting his sister. So I want you to tell me how you all know each other and what precipitated this altercation with the defendant.
Well, I know everybody through Corey, who's my best friend through high school.
Through this gentleman?
Yes. I met his girlfriend at the time through...
Which is girlfriend? Raise your hand, girlfriend. Good. Your name is?
Christina.
Christina. Go ahead.
The night I got a call at work, she was getting kicked out of her house. And
Who was?
Christina. Christina was getting kicked out of her house and needed my truck to get her futon and some other items out of her house. And I went over there and...
Who was she living with at the time?
Her parents.
Okay.
And they were saying vulgar things.
Who was?
Her parents. And a green minivan pulled up, and I didn't know at the time, and he came out and was talking to me at curbside.
Who's he?
Sean.
How is he related to Christina?
My uncle.
You're Christina's uncle?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And he was like, you know, just stay out of this. And I'm like, I am. And her mom came out of the house and were saying things about some of my friends. So
What was she saying about some of your friends?
It was a girlfriend and her age, and saying how I have these relationships with underage girls or something. As words were getting said, you know, he did pull me to the curb talking to me. She came out...
No, you went very fast. Don't slur your words. You are exchanging words with your sister.
Yes. Well, no.
Just a second.
Okay.
He's exchanging words with your sister, according to him.
Okay.
You pull up. Did somebody call you to come home?
Yes.
Who called you?
My nephew.
And said there's an altercation going on here, come home?
Your Honor, what happened is I called probably about 5 minutes before my nephew called. I was calling up to see, it was a Friday night, I was calling up to see what they're going to do this weekend. I was just talking to her. And all of a sudden, I hear like noises in the background, like yelling and stuff. And my sister says, I got to go, and hangs the phone up on me. Hangs the phone up, not bye, I just got to go bye, and just hangs the phone. Like at this point, I'm thinking, you know, what's happening? A couple minutes later, my nephew calls me up. He says, they're going after my dad, get over here. I'm like, who? And she said, Corey and his friends. Okay, at this point, I don't know what, I mean,
You don't know what happens. You get into your car and you go over there.
Absolutely.
Now, there's no question that once you got over there,
Yes.
there's a whole melee, brothers, sisters, aunts, nieces, nephews, everybody's outside screaming, everybody's outside. Now, I want you to tell me this, sir. I read between the lines in your answer.
Mm-hmm.
You hit him.
Yes, I did.
Where did you hit him, by the way?
Where'd I hit him?
Yeah.
I hit him in the jaw.
In the jaw. What happened when you were hit in the jaw, sir? Your tooth came out, right?
Yes.
Now, he didn't hit you first.
Yes, he did.
No, no, no. No, he didn't hit you first.
There's a lot
Mr.
preceding
Roach.
this, Your Honor. There's a lot preceding.
I want you to answer my question. I don't care
Okay,
what
okay,
preceded it.
absolutely.
I read your answer very carefully.
Okay.
He did not hit you first. The first person to put their hands on somebody between the two of you was you, because he was disrespecting.
No. He elbowed me in the side of the head earlier.
Elbowed you.
I can't
Broke my
even-
glasses.
Just a second. No, no, no. No, 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 no. No, Mr. Roach.
Yes. I can go through the whole thing and tell you.
I'm going to read you your answer, sir.
Okay.
My sister Pam came out of the house and told Ryan and the rest of his friends to leave.
Nothing about girlfriend.
Just a second.
Yes.
I'm speaking.
All right.
At this point, Ryan stepped to the side and leaned over my shoulder towards her, directing profanities at her. I then grabbed him and wrestled him to the hood of my truck.
His truck.
Of a truck.
Yes.
That's what you wrote.
Yes, it's true.
Well, then the first person to put hands on somebody was you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes. Absolutely. No, I never would say anything different than that.
You just did, sir.
No.
You just told me that he put his hands on you first, and he elbowed you and broke your glasses, and I said, no, no, no. You got to get your story straight, Mr. Roach, because in your sworn statement to me, you say that he was
I'm not denying
disrespecting
that.
your sister, and you grabbed him and threw him up against the hood of a truck.
Yes, ma'am.
Because he was going after my sister with profanities, I felt compelled to protect her. I told him never to talk to my sister that way. That's what you wrote.
Absolutely. No question about it, ma'am.
So you assaulted him first. Anything that comes
Absolutely,
after that,
yes.
anything that comes out after that, sir. If he resisted you, if he elbowed you, broke your glasses,
Okay.
doesn't make any difference. When
Absolutely.
did you punch him?
That's
When did you punch him?
After this. After all this.
No, so let me see your medical bills. Very easy. Easy case.
No,
Your
Your Honor, there's a lot that went into this before this stuff.
Please.
I was just trying to go over there to help out. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I walked over there.
Just so you know.
I see this guy over here by the van yelling to my family. Corey and Chrissy were over at the other car, like by their car. I don't know what's going on. I just walked up. I walked to the sidewalk, and I say, calmly, it's a family matter. Let's leave this. Let it go. Just let this go. He comes towards me. He's right in front of me now. My sister walks up to, right, she's behind me, and she says, get off my property. He says, I don't know if I can say it.
Hey, say anything. I've heard it all.
Okay, he says, you. Okay, at this point, when he says this, he's in front of me, and he goes over, I'm not saying he's assaulting me, but he goes like this, and he's making contact with me. He says, you. Okay, at that point.
You assaulted him.
At that point, I grabbed him and threw him on the truck.
You assaulted him. That's an assault.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan McBride says his friend's uncle, Sean Roach, punched him in the mouth and knocked out a tooth.
You grabbed him, threw him up against the hood of a truck because he called your sister a name. You got mad. That's what
I
happened.
didn't get mad. I mean,
You didn't get mad?
I got a little upset, yes.
Mr. Roach, you had absolutely no right to put your hands on him. I want to know when your tooth got knocked out, sir.
When he was on the truck, I had an 88 F-150.
Sir,
okay.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
It's a big truck with a roll bar.
I didn't understand anything that you said before that either.
Okay. Well, when he choked me, I got out of that. I don't know if somebody pulled him off.
Is he talking very fast or am I getting old?
It's kind of slurred. Take
Listen
your
to
time.
me. Slowly.
Okay. He choked me on my truck, and he threw my coat up over my head. And when I got out of that, I saw a fist come at me.
So he pulled the coat over you?
Yes.
Did you press any charges, Mr. McBride?
I tried to. I consulted a lawyer, and they said in Oakland.
I'm talking about consulting a lawyer.
Okay.
I'm talking about pressing criminal charges.
I went
with
to,
regard
and
to
the
this
lawyer
assault.
advised me not to, because it would not go over in Oakland County. They don't like these kind of trials, and they would basically throw it out.
Go ahead, Mr. Roach. I'll hear you.
I called the detectives as this was going on because I was concerned what was happening. I called the detectives and I was saying, you know, what's going to happen here. I gave him my statement. He said that his parents
Don't tell me what he told you.
Okay. His parents were calling up trying to do whatever they could to get these charges to stick to me. The detective said that there was not a case here. There was no case. They
Well,
were
there
going
is
to
a
drop
case.
the charges.
There is a case. That's why I said to you, don't tell me what the
He didn't
detective
drop the
say.
charges. The court dropped the charges.
Oh, I don't know that at all. Were you arrested?
No.
Then the court didn't drop charges.
No,
How come
that's
the
what
court
the
dropped
detective told me.
charges if you weren't arrested?
Okay, the court may have not have. However the court works, that's how the charges were dropped.
No, they
not
were never
by
dropped
him.
because they were never filed. The detectives decided not to pursue the matter.
Yes.
They probably listened to you when you said that he elbowed you first.
No, I
You
grabbed
just
him
told-
first. I'm sorry,
No.
I misunderstood. I grabbed him first. No question about it, ma'am. No
You grabbed him
question
first
about
and
it.
threw him up against his truck.
Yes, no
Okay,
question
judgment
about
for the plaintiff in the amount of
Excuse me, Your Honor.
$5,000. That's all.
Can I not speak? Because
No,
this is,
can't
it all-
speak, can't
it
say
has
it.
to do with beforehand. He hit me.
Excuse
Ryan
me,
hit me too.
Just a minute. Your bills, sir, are almost $5,000. Can you tell me why you're only suing for $3,000?
In Michigan, they will only allow me to go up to $3,000.
I suppose that's your...
it. What about him
and that's
assaulting
your-
my sister?
Yeah, he hit me too,
That's
Your
okay?
Honor. Before he got hit in the mouth, he hit me. Ryan hit me.
Yeah, so where's your lawsuit?
Well, I wasn't suing him.
Well, he's suing him.
I know, but the whole thing is they were not asked to be at our property. We asked them to leave our property.
Let me explain something to you. Step up. I'll give it to you very fast. How is Christina related to you?
She is my daughter. And she
Oh,
was-
shh. Listen to me. She is your daughter. Up until that time, was she living with you?
No, she had left a couple weeks before that.
She had things in your home?
We made arrangements for her to get him the next day. She came that night, and she also has a truck. She did not need him to bring all these
That's a whole
kids to
bunch
our
of
house.
stories, madam. Let me tell you something. He was not there without some legitimate authority. If a person who lived in that house invited him to come, now if he's there as an invited guest, even to just remove her property from the house, you can't assume that you can assault him for staying on your property once you tell him to leave.
She had been gone for 2 weeks. She was not living in our premises. She had been already gone, and we
Your
asked her to
brother
leave.
had no right to
Well-
assault the plaintiff, period.
But-
He really wasn't involved with this. He was doing his friend a favor by coming and bringing his truck. Everything was going to be quiet. All you had to do was, if she wasn't living there for 2 weeks, let her take her stuff and go. I don't know why there was a whole
Because we
argument.
made arrangements, and she had a truck, and we asked for them not to come because I also have two sons that Mr. McBride was trying to get my 11-year-old to start a fight with him. The profanities that were being said was from them, not from us.
I like to lie.
Shut up, Christina.
We've asked-
Quiet. Listen to me. This is not family court. If it were, perhaps I might spend some more time trying to put together what is a story of a broken family. This is the case of an assault. Your brother put his hands on a stranger for using bad words to you. He's not allowed to do that, and he has to pay the consequences of doing that.
I understand
Whether you say that the plaintiff touched you first, that is not why your brother assaulted him. Your brother put his hands on him because he called you a name. That's what he just testified
But
to.
he had his hand raised, and I did file a suit against
The
him.
two
Goodbye.
walked out afterwards. After he assaulted
Parties
her.
are excused. You may step out.
Next time I'll throw him over our knee and spank him. That's what his parents should have done to him long ago. We wouldn't have had this problem.
If my mom actually really cared about me, then maybe none of this would have happened.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Younger versus Hampton. Step forward, please.
37-year-old computer engineer Nancy Younger is suing her former friend, 26-year-old cashier Robin Hampton, for the cost of child support.
Miss Younger, the defendant's son was placed in your care by the courts.
Yes.
And you claim that pursuant to the court order, the defendant who is receiving child support for that child from the child's father, those checks were to be endorsed and payable to you while the child was in your care.
That's correct.
And it is your claim that 6 checks that the defendant received while the child was in your care were not turned over to you. That's what you're suing for.
Yes.
Defendant says you got all the money that you were supposed to. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Tell me when and why the child was placed in your care.
The child was placed in my care in January at Miss Hampton's request.
Why were you willing to have her take care of your
My
son?
son was taken away from me in January due to child abuse. My ex-boyfriend.
So the court was going to remove the child from your care,
Yes, Your Honor.
and you asked the plaintiff to take him instead of having him go into foster care.
Yes, ma'am.
How much support were you getting for the child from the child's father?
It was $154 a month.
When was the child removed from your care?
August 28th.
How many checks did you receive?
Well, actually, what I had asked Miss Hampton originally how much child support he was receiving, she told me $154.44 a month. And originally, I didn't question that. I assumed that she would tell me the correct amount. What happened was, my witness here, this is the child's father, he provided for me a Department of Revenue disbursement report, and I found out he was actually receiving $154.44 every 2 weeks.
Is that right?
When I got paid, I turned him over to her.
You didn't answer my question.
Whatever I received, I'm not sure if it was every 2 weeks or every month. Because I would get a payment, and then I wouldn't get a payment. Then I'd get a payment, and then it'd be several weeks without payment. So I couldn't even keep up if it was every 2 weeks or every month.
The report shows that it was issued approximately, give or take a few days, every 2 months. I missed...
Every 2 months?
Every 2 weeks, I'm sorry. I missed a check, at least one check every month.
How much money did you receive in total in the 7 months that you cared for the child?
$1,081.08.
That's what you received from her?
The ones that I checked are the ones I received.
$1,081.
Yes.
This is a simple case. Ms. Hampton,
Yes.
everything that was received by the Department of Revenue during the time that she had physical custody of the child
Right.
belongs to her. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
According to your answer, you received some checks in September. Is that right?
2.
That money you didn't give her. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
But you know, Ms. Hampton, that they don't send it to you for the week that's coming up. They send it to you sometimes for a month that's passed, for 6 weeks that's passed, because it takes them time to process these things.
Right.
Right? So why didn't you turn over those checks to her?
Because she had no longer had my son.
But that was for money when she did have your son.
He owes me an arrear of child support for 7.5 years.
Step up here, sir. You have a copy of your child support order?
Not with me, Your Honor.
What is the child support order?
The child support order is $154 every 2 weeks.
Is it separated as far as arrears and what is the current order?
They assess an extra $20 to make up for those arrears. In other words, I was garnished about $174 every 2 weeks on average.
Well, that's what I want to know.
Right.
Just for my own information, you owe her $772. Why was the child removed from your care?
The child was removed from my care because of a call that Ms. Hampton made to the Florida Abuse Hotline. She's made a call regarding every family that the child has ever lived with. She calls the abuse hotline, and subsequently the child gets moved someplace else. And basically the Inspector General report said that the child should have never been removed from my home, that he was not ever in any harm. The department was going solely based on Mrs. Hampton's statements. I have a copy of that here if you need to see it.
I'd like to see it. Where's your son now?
With his father.
This is a 72-page report that was issued by the Inspector General, and I've highlighted the pertinent parts.
All right, I'm not going to get into this report. There are things there that, quite frankly, without reading the entire report, I would have trouble making a determination about. However, suffice it to say that your son is with you now, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Child doing all right?
Much better, in fact. He's now an AB student.
And what about his mother? Does his mother see him?
When she feels like it. We've had about 13 to 14 scheduled visitations, of where she's appeared maybe 6 times.
What kind of visitation is it?
Well, it depends. We have the stay up for 14 to 19 hours a day visits. We have the whole let's go to everyone else's house rather than home.
No, I'm talking about what kind of court-ordered visitation is there?
It's supposed to be weekend unsupervised.
Weekend unsupervised?
Yes.
Whatever happened with the child abuse case that caused the child to be removed from your care initially? You were charged with neglect.
No, I was charged with failure to protect.
Well, that's neglect. What happened with that case?
It's still going on. The procedure's still going on. I go for reunification May 30th of this year.
Was there a trial with regard to that case? Was there a trial? You had a lawyer?
Yes.
Did a caseworker testify?
Yes.
So there was a trial where you found guilty of failure to protect? Yes. Is that right?
Yes.
Child was turned over to the father, and you have ongoing meetings with the social worker and the child with regard to reunification.
Right.
It's like pulling teeth sometimes.
Yeah, I know. All right. In any event, the child is with the father. You owe her $772, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 539 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas Hilaire versus Smith Gray. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
You're Georgiana?
Yes.
And this is your mother?
Yes.
I'd like your mother to sit down, please. You Miss Smith?
Yes, I am.
And this is your son?
Yes.
Why don't you have a seat, because I'll bring you up later if we need your testimony. How old are you?
14.
It is your complaint through your mother that you suffered a serious back injury in school as a result of an incident involving the defendant.
Yes.
When did this happen?
September 11th.
And you were in school?
Yes.
Were you inside the school?
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
My mom dropped me off. I got out of the car, went to the gated area, and I waited for my friends to get there. So my friend showed up a couple minutes later, and then he showed up.
Did you know Thomas from before?
Yes.
Were you friends?
We'll socialize, but not friends.
What do you mean you socialized?
Like, just talk if we have a class together.
So you did speak to him?
Yeah.
Never had any trouble with him?
No.
Okay. So then Thomas showed up.
He was picking on another girl before he picked on me.
What do you mean he was picking on somebody?
Like, pushing her and, like, kidding her.
In a fooling around way?
Yeah. He told her that he was going to pick on her, and then she said, no, you're not. And then he said, okay, well, I'm going to pick on Georgie then.
Okay. And that didn't bother you because you knew he was fooling around?
Yes.
So when he said, I'm going to pick on Georgie, what, did he do anything?
He started hitting me.
Where did he hit you?
Right here and like this.
Well, I want you to tell me whether he was hitting you or just...
Slapping.
Was he laughing, smiling?
Smiling.
And you?
I was laughing at first.
So you were laughing at first. So you knew he wasn't hurting you. It was just fooling around.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going.
And then we were walking to first period, and he was still hitting me.
When you say he was still hitting you, how was he hitting you?
Slapping me.
Where?
Like on the arm and right here, like this. And we got to the building, we're inside, and I finally got the nerve to hit him back with my backpack.
Tell me how you did that.
I swung around twice, and I didn't get him the first time, but I got him the second time, I think around the below stomach area. I guess that made him mad, I don't know. And then I turned around to just get away from him, and I thought he would quit. And so I turned around to go get a drink of water.
Let's stop there for a moment. Up until that time, it was really just messing around, wasn't it?
Yes.
Up until that time, he was really messing around with you. Wasn't hurting you. You were fooling around because you certainly were with enough people so that you could have said to them, somebody help me, he's hurting me. He wasn't hurting you, right?
No.
And you didn't intend to hurt him when you swung at him with the backpack. You were messing around.
Yes.
When you swung the first time and missed, did you say anything to him or did he say anything to you?
No.
Were you smiling when you swung around and hit him?
Yes.
Were you smiling when you swung around and hit him again?
Yes.
Keep going. So then you went over to get a drink of water.
And I turned facing this way, and he was like to this chair, and then he put his foot against the wall, and he kneeled down. And then next thing I know, took off, and I thought he was just joking. He was going to stop. And I landed on my behind, and all I remember is crying.
Just a second. Wait a second. So he pushed you.
Yes.
And you fell and landed on your behind.
Yes.
And you hurt your back.
Yes.
And that's what this case is all about, the injuries that you sustained as a result of falling on your backside. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You want to say anything?
Well, I didn't intentionally mean to push her, but I did not come down in the football position. Just when she swung her backpack, I dodged it and gave her a little touch, and she fell.
Well, you pushed her.
Yeah.
But everything else that we've talked about so far this morning, Thomas, is about accurate. You were messing around?
Yeah, for like a minute, but then I left.
You were messing around with her?
Yeah.
And then by tapping her, slapping her, whatever. But it was, nobody was angry.
No, it wasn't tapping or slapping like that.
What were you doing?
Like just talking.
You didn't put your hands on her?
No. I like put my hand on her shoulder.
Well, that's what we're talking about. You put your hand on her shoulder.
Yeah.
Didn't punch her.
No.
Didn't slap her in the face.
No, ma'am.
Right?
No.
Didn't punch you.
No.
Now the mothers can stand up. So your daughter was injured.
Yes.
Tell me how she was injured.
She was transported from the school to the nearest hospital near the school. We spent about 8 hours in that hospital before we finally found out by them doing an MRI and an X-ray that she had crushed her T12. I don't know how much you know about medicals, but it takes a lot of force to crush a vertebrae in your back.
Was she in a brace?
After we were at that first hospital for the first 8 hours, it was decided because of her age and the seriousness of the injury that it was best for her to go to a children's hospital, which was a 45-minute drive, which she had to take by ambulance again. We arrived there at 2 o'clock in the morning. They measured her for a full-body brace that went from here to here, had a front plate and a back plate, Velcroed on the side.
And how long did she remain in that cast?
For 3 months. But, Your Honor, I also want to stress that because it happened on September 11th, the incident, she was measured for the brace the next day, but because the planes were grounded after September 11th incident in New York, the brace had to come from Michigan, so she had to lay in a hospital bed for 6 days living on morphine because they couldn't come until a week later. Excuse me.
You okay now?
She had to, she could not be out of bed without the brace. She couldn't take a shower for 3 months. I had to sponge bathe her every day. Anytime she needed to go to the bathroom, I had to put the brace on her and help her to the restroom. Plus, I was working full-time still, taking care of my daughter with a broken back.
Thomas Gray injured her back while horsing around at school.
Don't you believe that your daughter bears any responsibility for this at all? I'm not excusing this young man's behavior in pushing her, the fact that she fell, but they were messing around. She hit him first.
No,
There's
she
no
didn't.
question. Yes, she did. According to her own testimony, he was at most, I learned a word here, mushing. What's mushing? Didn't you tell me what mushing was when you sort of go like this?
Right.
Right?
Nudge her.
It's kind of nudging. That's what he was doing to her. And even according to her, Didn't hurt her. She was smiling, he was smiling, she was with a bunch of kids. She wasn't in danger. He hadn't hit her. She hit him with her backpack, and she swung several times with her backpack. That's not excusing what happened. I mean, he could have walked away, probably should have walked away, right?
Yes, ma'am.
This was not an assault. This was kids fooling around on their way to class, and unfortunately, one of them got seriously injured. Were you suspended from school?
I was expelled for 2 semesters.
What about you?
I was out of school for 3 months.
Was your son arrested for assault?
No, ma'am.
Of course not, because this wasn't an assault. So what I want to know now is, what were your out-of-pocket expenses with regard to this
I have
unfortunate
copies
incident?
of the medical bills.
No, I want to know what your out-of-pocket expenses were. I assume you have insurance.
Yes.
Good. So what were your out-of-pocket expenses for her medical care, not your work loss or anything else?
I didn't calculate any of that, and I haven't paid any of the bills yet because there was a problem with the insurance.
So you don't know?
No.
So I can't tell what your medicals will be, if any. It may be that the insurance is going to cover everything. You have to know that you were partially responsible.
I know.
Good. I'm glad you know that. What responsibility do you believe, if any, that you have to compensate the plaintiff for the injury she sustained?
Well, I think it was all an accident and that it could have been prevented, but I wasn't thinking at the time. Like, I apologized to her, and I really regret for what I did, but if I can take it back, I would.
You didn't mean to hurt her, did you?
No, ma'am.
How long had your son been in that school?
The beginning of September is school.
Did you just start that school?
Yes.
Yeah.
Your Honor, they were in school 6 days when this happened.
Yeah, a
Okay,
couple
but
of weeks.
was this the first year that you were in that school?
Yes, ma'am.
You were just starting high school?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and as a result of that, you were expelled for 2 semesters.
Yes, ma'am.
That's his punishment. And you're back in the school now.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes when you fool around, one person gets injured more than another. That doesn't mean a lawsuit. Your case is dismissed. That's it.
Thank
Parties
you,
are
Your Honor.
excused. You may step out.
Unfortunately, like Judge Judy said, someone got hurt.
I've been struggling with this ever since it happened on September 11th.
Horseplay, not the thing to do.
Playing around is not playing around when somebody gets hurt as badly as she did.
I'm very sorry that it happened.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Henry versus Goss. Step forward, please.
23-year-old student Danielle Henry is suing her former roommate, 22-year-old waitress Nancy Goss, for damages to her apartment caused by Nancy's Chihuahua.
Miss Henry, according to your complaint, the defendant became your roommate. She moved in with a dog. It's her boyfriend's dog, a little Chihuahua. I assume you're not roommates anymore, is that right?
No, ma'am.
And you claim that her dog destroyed your carpet. You want her to reimburse you for the carpet. She said you had a dog too, and the dogs were equally responsible for the damaged carpet. When did she move in with you, Miss Henry?
It was in June 2001.
And you have a dog?
Yes, I do.
What kind of a dog do you have?
It's a Chihuahua as well. It's a 4-year-old Chihuahua, ma'am.
And you were bringing your boyfriend's dog?
Yes, ma'am, because of her Chihuahua.
Okay, what kind of damage do you allege her dog did to your carpet?
Her dog chewed a hole in her bedroom in which she already knew about and cleaned up and didn't tell me about.
Chewed a hole?
Yes, ma'am. I have pictures.
All
Pictures of the carpet, pictures of the dog, pictures of other damages the dog's done.
I have better pictures if you'd like to see.
I'm not interested in seeing all the doggy pictures, although they're adorable, but I'm really busy today. Are these the only... Is this the damage that you're talking about just on one page?
As far as the carpets, ma'am?
Yeah, as far as the carpets.
We also have the lawn that was destroyed, and my stereo cables were also chewed up. Boxes and...
Did you replace them?
She did. Her fiance, Brandon, did.
So we're only talking about carpet?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm looking at the carpet. And how do you know her dog did this damage?
Ma'am, her dog was a puppy, and when it first moved in, it was really young and didn't destroy anything, but eventually it started to destroy things through the month of August and September. I confronted Miss Goss about this, about the damages, and that she needed to replace them, and that the dog would need to be contained when we're not home, being that the damages continued, and that's when she assaulted me.
Did I ask a question there that she answered?
I don't know if she ever really got to it.
How do you know her dog did the damage instead of both of your dogs doing the damage?
I lived in the apartment for a year before Miss Goss lived there, and there was no holes in the rugs ever, and my dog has never done anything as far as damages. I also lived in another apartment, which I got my full and complete deposit back, so my dog never destroyed anything there as well.
Okay, did your dog eat up the carpet?
No.
Make little holes
No.
in the carpet?
No, there's no way possible. I mean, it's just unreal. I mean,
Okay,
'cause he's never...
let's go back. Let's go back a second. All right. Of course, there's a way possible.
Well, yeah.
One of the holes that I saw in this book, in her scrapbook of dog, was in your bedroom.
Yes, ma'am.
When you moved into the bedroom, I assume there was not a hole in the carpet.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you moved out, there was a hole in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, she must have at some point told you or had a discussion with you about the hole in the bedroom carpet.
No.
She never had a discussion with you about the hole in the bedroom carpet?
Your Honor, that's a lie.
No, it's not.
Just a second. Don't
stand
there. Well, what was the argument about on September 10th?
Me and my fiance just got back from uptown. She was in the kitchen. We recycled, and I came walking in, and she was like, Hercules chewed up my computer wires. And I'm like, well, Danielle, you know, if he did that, then I would replace them. And she kept on and on and on and on. I was like, Danielle, leave it alone.
No. Just a second. Listen to me. She said that your dog destroyed the computer, chewed the computer wires, and you said, my boyfriend will replace them. So I assume you knew that it was true, because when you have a little dog, because I have, you see where their favorite spots are to go. So you've probably seen your dog chewing on wires. Right.
Wires, not carpet.
So you probably knew that your dog did that kind of damage. Then you said she went on and on and on and on and on. I want to know what the on and on and on and on was. That's the important part.
You need to lock up Hercules.
Okay.
Didn't ask. If she would have asked, it would have been fine. But she did not ask. She is very demanding. That's how she wants it done. It's her way or no way.
Okay.
All
now,
she had to do was ask.
Was this the first time she had asked you or told you that your dog had destroyed something in the house?
No.
No. So she had told you that the dog had done other damage in the house?
To wires.
To wires. But when you came home on this day, she said, again, your dog was at the wires. And this time it was to what kind of system?
It was a stereo.
Stereo system.
And a laptop cord.
All right. So then she was saying to you, you have to contain the dog, because it was not the first time that the dog had caused damage. And then there was an altercation, some sort of. And then you moved out, I assume, in September?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you get any sort of an estimate on putting a patch there?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was it?
Oh, I'm sorry, not as far as a patch. Miss Goss tried to patch the carpet, in which she spoke with the landlord about that. And so when that wouldn't work, that's when she decided that it could have been either dog.
Oh, so you
May I
did...
say something?
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Hold
I
it,
have it in her letter.
hold it.
I have it in her letter, ma'am.
So you knew about the carpet, Miss Goss, and you spoke to the landlord about patching it?
Okay, this is the situation.
Just
None
answer
of the
my
carpet.
question. Just answer my question. You knew about the carpet, and you discussed with the landlord
About patching it.
about patching it.
Yes.
And did you try to patch it?
He said that the landlord's wife, said that Danielle preferred to have new carpet while staying there. I asked him again. I said, can we patch it? He said it can be done, but I'd rather not.
Not patch it?
Not patch it.
Then you got to replace it. Period. I mean, I know what we're doing here. I initially thought when I looked at these papers, well, how can you tell what damage is caused by what dog? This was in your bedroom. You clearly at some point acknowledged that it was your dog's fault because you went to the landlord and said, look, I'll fix it, I'll patch it.
We were talking about both patches, not just the bedroom.
I'm just talking about the bedroom. I'm discarding the living room. I saw the living room, the tear in the living room. And who knows, maybe your dog started it and her dog went over. It's like, well, that might be a good idea. I'd like a little taste of that. That's a possibility, but certainly not in your bedroom. What's the cost of the new carpeting in her bedroom, former bedroom only?
The landlord just gave us the estimate for the complete and full bedroom, living room.
The
It's all one
whole
rug.
apartment is being replaced.
No, that's, well,
with
she's
the
not going to pay for that.
677.
She's not going to pay for that. How large is your bedroom?
What would you say? I'm not good with
About a 12 by 12.
12 by 12. So he says.
All right, so probably your bedroom, considering the cost of this carpet, which is not really high-quality carpet for all of those rooms.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so it's probably not more than $150. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, this is case number 538 on the calendar in the matter of Bates versus Lott. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
All right, Miss Bates, you weren't present when this accident occurred, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Only your son was there and the defendant.
That's correct, Your Honor.
You're the son?
Yes.
Step up, you may have a seat. Tell me your first name.
Joshua.
All right, Joshua. This case is about whether the car hit you or you hit the car.
Yes.
You were riding a bike?
Yes.
And it is your claim that the defendant, while driving his car, with a suspended license, by the way, is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Whether the defendant hit you or you hit him. Tell me when this happened.
This happened May 14th, 2001.
What time of the day, Joshua?
It was about 7:50, I believe.
Morning?
Yeah, or maybe like between 7:40 and 7:50.
Where were you going?
I was on my way to school.
So tell me what happened on May 14th.
I was on my way to school, and I got off the bike trails, and as I
Slow. Okay. Joshua, very slowly. You were on your way to school.
Yes, and I crossed the intersection, and I was driving down the sidewalk on my way to school, and then as I crossed the drive into a gas station, he hit me.
So he hit you from the side?
Yeah, like he hit my bike below me, and I was thrown over my handlebars, and then after I
he hit you from the side, though, is what you're saying?
Yes, Honor.
And you were driving on the sidewalk?
Yes.
Are you supposed to ride on the sidewalk?
No, I did not believe so, but I wasn't aware of that at the time.
Just a second. My question is, I thought that bikes were not supposed to be on the sidewalk.
I believe that's so.
And you say that when he hit you coming out of the driveway...
No, he was coming into the driveway.
Oh, he was pulling into the gas station?
Yes, Your Honor.
And as he hit you, you fell over the handlebars?
Yes, I flew over the handlebars.
Tell me about your injuries.
I sustained back injuries onto my lower back, and I got bruises on my waist, and I think my arms, and I believe my knee, too.
Were you hospitalized, Joshua?
I went to the hospital afterwards.
Were you admitted to the hospital?
Yeah, I didn't stay there overnight.
Did not? So you were not admitted?
No.
Okay. Did you receive any follow-up treatment?
Yes, I went to the chiropractors for a month.
Feel better now?
My back still hurts occasionally, like when I do physical activity.
Okay. When you were thrown from the bike, did Mr. Lott stop the car?
I believe he did, but then he got back in after he saw everyone coming around and drove over to get gas, I believe.
Did he speak to you?
I don't recall. Maybe he did.
What do you mean you don't recall?
Because I was kind of like dazed and injured, because I fell unconscious after I hit the ground. So I woke up and I was kind of in a daze, and I don't recall too much.
So you don't remember Mr. Lott speaking to you?
I'm not sure if it was him. I don't really recall it at all.
Okay. All right, Mr. Lott, you want to tell me your version of these events, sir?
I was going down the street, and I was going to get some gas. And there's two driveways. And when I got the first driveway, I happened to see this kid coming across that intersection. He was going pretty good. And I figured, well, that's not a problem, because he just came across. So I started to pull in, and I got halfway up the driveway, and I see the kid again, and I thought, Jesus, he's only about 60 feet away. He's going to hit me. If I continue, this boy's going to hit me. So I stopped my car, took a look in the rearview mirror to see if I was going to get rear-ended, and I wasn't. I gave the boy a chance to swerve to go around me, and he almost made it. He did 2 or 3 swerves and almost pulled it out. He hit the front of my car, and he knocked the license plate off of it, and the car was going this way.
Excuse me.
He hit the,
Just a second.
with his bicycle, he hit the license plate and knocked it off my car, and I sat there and I watched him fly over my hood, and I was concerned about it. Well, he hit me pretty good. Thank God I was stopped, otherwise he'd been going the other direction or on top of my hood. But anyway, when he hit the ground, went over, I jumped out of the car, and he wanted to get up, and I said, no, stay down. He's laying down. I wanted to talk to the boy a little bit. I didn't want him to move because I've had some training, and I wanted to make sure that there was no concussions, no bleeding, no head injury, no delayed shock, so I started talking to him. And when he felt a little bit, I felt that he was feeling a little bit better. He wanted to sit up. I said, okay, now you can sit up. And at that time, I touched him a couple of times. I looked at his eyes, asked him a few questions. I felt no clamminess for shock, and I was worried about it. Other people started arriving. This is true. A guy wanted to get out of the driveway from the gas station, so I pulled my car up to get out of the way. I saw the cut on his arm, and so when I pulled up, I went inside and got some ice for his arm. When I came back, there was a crowd of people around him, and they were in control. And people kind of pushed me away, and I said, well, he's fine. That's not a problem.
Now, so it's your statement...
He told me he was running late for school, and he apologized to me for going too fast, and he thanked me for stopping the car.
Mr. Lott, so
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
your statement that your car was stopped.
Yes, ma'am.
You were stopped, and he drove directly into your car,
He
knocking
drove in
off your
front of the
license
car,
plate.
and that's why license plate
Okay.
bent.
All right. Now, Mrs. Bates, you indicated you have a witness.
I do, Your Honor.
I assume this is the witness.
This is.
So step up here, sir. Would you tell me your name?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Steve Thorpe, and I just dropped my son off at school, drove over to the gas station. I parked the car behind the gas station because it was pretty busy that day. Just as I stepped out of the car, I heard the bike and the car meet, and it seemed to me like he didn't stop. He was still pulling into the gas station.
Mr. Lott, don't interrupt him.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but he didn't see
Don't,
anything.
Mr. Lott,
Yes,
don't
ma'am.
interrupt.
And the car hit him almost like a T-bone. The bike didn't hit the side of the car. The front of the car hit the bike on the side. The license plate flew across the driveway.
That's because he hit a license plate.
In fact, in which
Mr. Lott, you're interrupting, sir.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I just hear a lot of...
Mr. Lott.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't interrupt, sir. Go ahead.
the young man flew over the handlebars, hit his head on the curb, and the defendant did get out of the vehicle first, was the first one to see if he was all right. A whole bunch of other people stopped, including one lady who identified herself as a nurse, basically took over to the sheriffs and the paramedics. Everybody showed up.
Mr. Thorpe, thank you very much. You waited around in order to give your information to the police?
In fact, I waited till everything calmed down, then I handed my driver's license to the sheriff, and he says, well, where's the guy that hit him? I said, he's over there washing his windows on his car. He just got gas.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 15-year-old Joshua Bates says while riding his bike to school, he was run over by motorist Walter Lott. Walter says Joshua ran into him.
Why don't you step up anyway now, Miss Bates, because I have just a couple more questions for your son. Were you going fast that day, Joshua?
I believe I was going in the usual speed on my way to school.
So you weren't going too fast?
I was going maybe 10, 15 miles per hour.
Okay. Now I'll take a look at your pictures, please.
And I also have the amount of property damage, as well as the police report.
I'd like to see that, all of that.
Your Honor, he was also uninsured at the time.
I didn't hear that. Could you see that again?
She said you were uninsured, sir. Is that true?
I don't know. At the time, I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I didn't know if I was uninsured or not. As far as I knew, I was insured.
Well, you have a suspended license. What
I had
was
a
it
suspended license, but I didn't know about it till later on.
What was it suspended for, Mr. Lott?
It was a case that was pending about old child support or not.
They don't do that without giving you notice.
Well,
They
I
choose to
travel a
ignore
lot.
the notice, but you get the notice. Mr. Bates, I like when you give me the same statement that you gave to the police, sir.
I believe I said I was trying to brake because I saw him coming in.
No. Let's start with, you told the police that you were riding pretty fast. You
It's
told
like-
me you were riding, well, normal speed, 10, 15 miles an hour. But the
Yes,
police, you told you were riding pretty fast.
That's the speed I usually ride to school.
Don't try to make things look better for yourself because you're in court, sir. Let me explain
not.
something to you. I'm really smart.
Yes.
Right? I'm really smart, and I'm going to read all the papers. So you better keep your story consistent. That doesn't mean you were wrong that day. It just means that if you're trying to make yourself look better here in court than the situation actually was, and if you were at least partially, even if a small part, at fault, you have to acknowledge that you were. Do you understand me, Joshua?
Yes, Your Honor.
So let's go back. Were you riding fast?
I guess you could say that.
No, I don't want to say that. I'm asking you. The day they took the report, they said you told the police that you were riding pretty fast.
Yes.
Now, is that accurate?
Yes.
And you were riding on the sidewalk where you shouldn't have been riding. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, now we got it. That doesn't mean that it was all your fault, but you got to be honest with me. He's not being totally honest with me.
Yes.
But no, you're not. But I expect you to be. He's got a lifelong predisposition. You're just starting out, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Oh, well. This is your statement. He said he was riding pretty fast. As he crossed the north driveway, he saw this car turning into the driveway. So you saw the car turning into the driveway.
Yes, Your Honor.
Using his handbrakes, he tried to stop his bicycle. He failed to do so and collided with the front of his car.
No, that is not how it was
That's
true.
what you told the police.
That's not what happened.
That's what you told the police.
But he was out of it, Your Honor.
I know he was.
delirious.
Listen to me. Don't tell me he was out of it. You weren't there.
No, I wasn't.
You weren't there.
Your Honor, I did not collide with the front of his car.
Let me explain something to you, sir. According to the... Put the license plate down. The license plate could have come off, Mr. Lott. Put him down. It could have come off, sir.
Pardon?
Listen to me. You're not having trouble hearing me. Nobody has trouble hearing me, Mr. Lott.
I needed my right ear.
Okay, well then listen carefully with your right ear. The license plate could have come off if you hit him or he hit you.
It wouldn't have been bent if I hit him.
How?
On this side.
You have an expert witness to testify as to that, sir?
Do we need one?
We sure do.
Well-
Because I don't know what your license plate looked like beforehand. It looks like it's seen a lot of damage to me. Now be quiet before you get yourself into more trouble, Mr. Lott. I'm working on
Here's
you.
the tire marks where you hit
I'm
me.
going to give you 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to be a very unhappy man. Now, you saw him before you were crossing the driveway.
I know as I was coming into the driveway, and then as I was getting to the end of the driveway, he plowed into the side of me.
Joshua.
Yes, Your Honor.
I asked you one question. I said you saw him before the accident, because that's what you said to the police.
I believe so, Your Honor.
What do you mean you believe so?
I don't know because...
Well, you don't know. Well, I'm reading that I have to rely on what you told the police immediately.
The police officer...
Joshua, that doesn't mean that it's 100% your fault. Now, you and your mother would like me to say it was all his fault. It's possible that that's not true. It's possible that part of it was your fault. So I have to apportion financial responsibility. So I don't want you to tailor your testimony to what you think is the most favorable here in court, because I have your statement to the police that was very clear, not as a result of having a fuzzy mind. You said you tried to use your handbrakes.
Yes, I did. Right when he plowed into me, basically.
When he plowed into you. Yes. You've got it all down pat, Joshua. You are not impressing me, sir.
I'm not sure. What?
Yeah, I got it. I would suggest that you be quiet. You're driving with a suspended driver's license, and usually when a car hits something other than a car, it's usually their fault, Mr. Lott. Yes, you did.
Hit me. Here's the tire marks from his bike hitting me.
Now let me tell you what I do not believe, Mr. Lott. I do not believe that you stopped your car and that your car was standing in a stationary position and this young man came and slammed into your stopped car. I do not believe that, sir.
We all said it. He said it, he said it, and I said it.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you weren't listening with your good ear. Nobody on this side said that your car was stopped and he hit you.
I did not say that.
Nobody said it, except in your mind.
Can I have the deputy show you this? And show you the tire marks on here where you ran into me?
What I want you to do is I want you to forget about that.
Oh, okay.
Good. Forget about that piece of evidence. You've already showed it to me 4 times.
Ignore it.
The last part of the police report is very interesting. The last part of the police report indicates cause. Based on the statements by both parties, P1 was at fault. That's you. It says in the collision for riding his bicycle on the sidewalk, a violation of 21-650. So after they spoke to you and the witnesses and everybody else, they determined it to be your fault because you read the police report. You handed me the police report.
This is true, but they didn't put it. The police didn't include his statement.
Okay, well, they
he was an
included.
eyewitness.
Let me tell you this. They
No,
included another person's statement. Mr. Lott, be quiet. They included another person's statement, and the other person's statement was, and I don't think this was you, this was witness, said, Witness 1 was walking in the parking lot approximately 75 to 100 feet northwest of the driveway. He saw your son riding his bicycle northbound on the west sidewalk. As your son began to cross the driveway, he saw the defendant begin to turn into the driveway, and he saw your son run into his car.
How could he see that if he was riding across the driveway?
Listen to me. That's the witness's statement.
Yeah, but it's conflicting, Your Honor.
Listen to me. At the end of all of the people that they spoke to, and I heard him, they said your son was doing the wrong thing. And I'm not suggesting to you that Mr. Lott was not partially at fault. You would like me to believe that he was entirely at fault and fully responsible for what you claim is $5,000 damage. And I'm saying to you is, I believe that there is contributory negligence on your son's part. And if you don't think so, I can't do anything. The police concluded it was all his fault. Now, When did you contact an attorney?
I think it was within the week after Josh.
Within 1 week?
It may have been the following day, but I believe it was within the week. I can't
One
give you a
day
date.
or 1 week. You contacted the law firm of Gerald.
That's correct.
Did Mr. refer you to the chiropractor?
He asked me if Joshua were sore.
I didn't
Yes,
ask you
that's
that
correct.
question. I asked you whether Mr. referred you to the chiropractor.
Yes, Your Honor.
And how often did Mr. suggest you go to the chiropractor?
I'm not sure.
They spoke to me as long as he needed to.
That's not what I asked you. I'm 10 steps ahead of you, madam. You may not get it, but believe me, I'm 10 steps ahead of you. I know the legal game. That's why I'm asking all these questions. Now, after he determined that he wasn't going to take your case, did you ever go to his chiropractor again?
No.
The answer is yes or no. The answer is no. And that is despite the fact that Joshua tells me that he still has some discomfort in his back, right?
That's correct.
But you stopped going to the chiropractor. You have health insurance?
Yes, we do, Your Honor.
What kind of health insurance do you have?
At this time, it's Blue Cross.
Did Blue Cross and Blue Shield pick up the chiropractic care?
We didn't have them at the time. We had MaxiCare.
Yes.
And I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? If you went to a chiropractor, if you went to a
I don't know if
doctor...
the attorney was billed or if MaxiCare was billed. I don't know.
So that you had no out-of-pocket expenses. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. When you drive a car, you're supposed to have eyes all around you, because you never know when a child is going to come out, Mr. Lott, that you don't expect. A dog will come running across. You're driving a vehicle that weighs 3,000 pounds, and you have to have eyes all over. Now, you saw him, so you should have been much more careful than you were. Maybe you thought you could make it. I don't know what the answer is, but you should have been much more careful. That does not absolve Joshua of his responsibility. Joshua was riding his bike where he shouldn't have been. He was riding much too fast, so he is partially responsible for getting hurt. Now, parents have no out-of-pocket expenses because all of these expenses were absorbed by an attorney. Going to the chiropractor, in all probability, was designed to do nothing more than to facilitate a lawsuit, which turned out to be nothing because there was no insurance, which is why we're here. Now, I think, Mr. Lott, you are partially responsible for his pain and suffering that he suffered, and clearly he was beat up and he was banged up, certainly not to the tune of $5,000. The bicycle suffered a certain amount of damage. That was a couple of $100, and I'm sure that Joshua had a certain amount of discomfort for a while. Is that right, young man?
I still do, Your Honor.
You still do?
Yes.
Should have been more careful.
Yes, Your Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Now, this is case number 545 on the calendar in the matter of Stevens versus Ely Ford. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Stevens, it is your claim that the two defendants, one of whom is your brother-in-law, were involved in a shootout in a club parking lot, which caused damage to your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Which one is the brother-in-law? What's your last name, sir?
Orwood.
Okay, when did this happen?
January 7th, at about 3:30 in the morning.
Tell me what happened.
Well, I had the misfortune of that morning of going to the clubhouse. It's like an after-hour place that once all the clubs close, we head out and we go to this motorcycle club. And I was standing outside talking with some friends, and these two vehicles pull up. And
What kind of vehicles?
one was a later model Plymouth and a late model Cadillac. And they parked about 30 feet away from one another. I informed the gentleman that they were going to have to move the car because the clubhouse is on a very, very narrow street. And whenever someone parks on one side, there's motorcycles on the other side. So it's hard for traffic to get through. And they don't...
So you told them that they were going to have to move the cars?
Yes. And he said, okay, sure. And so I continued talking with my friends. Some time went by, I say about 15, 20 minutes. There were members from the clubhouse coming out, asking them, could you move the cars? Could you move the cars? And they would say, sure, yeah, I'll move the cars.
But they were in the cars?
Yes.
They remained in the cars?
Yes. So this went on for about, about 40 minutes. And then some more members came out, and they asked the guys to move the cars again. And they said, sure. And they went back in, and they didn't move the cars.
Who went back in?
The other members of the club.
Meanwhile, the two strangers in these two vehicles remained in their cars?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
They had moved, so my brother-in-law came out. He was about to get going here, and I know him.
I don't understand that. You have to explain that to me.
He was about to get after these guys to get them to move the cars. He's kind of like the enforcer there. He's
not true, Your Honor.
Okay.
He's the guy that they want on the gate. He's the guy that makes sure everybody pays. He's the guy that doesn't take any crap off of anybody. So I immediately headed him off. I caught him in the middle of the street before he could approach the gentleman, and we were face to face. And I basically told him, hey, look, man, these guys got guns, man. Don't come out here talking.
How do you know that they had guns?
They showed me guns.
When did they show you the guns?
About the third time that they were asked to move the cars. One of them, the guy, I know him as Big Mike. He stood back and he lifted his shirt.
Stood back how?
He got out of his car, and he stood back, and he said, nobody better, can I swear? He said, nobody better say a thing to my brother. And he pulled up his gun. He said, I'm going to bust a cap in your. So when this happens, I immediately go in and tell some of the other guys, members of the club that are behind the bar, I said, hey, don't come out here talking crazy, man. These guys have guns. Once my brother-in-law came out.
You stopped him and said, don't go over there.
I said, don't go over there, man. We were face to face. He was heading towards me, and I was heading, when I met him in the street, I said, hey, man, look. I put both arms up around him like this, and I was walking him back. I said, let's just go back in here, man, and let this stuff cool down, because these guys are stupid. As we are going, as I'm backing him into the compound, the other defendant, Mr. James Ely, he kind of comes out and kind of walks sideways down the fence with his gun in the air like this, waving it like it's... He came out, and he had it up in the air, doing it like this. So I get Peanut in, I get my brother-in-law in, and then Ely kind of walks in behind us. Okay, we're all inside the compound.
So now you're all in the club.
Right, we're all back in, there's a little compound area. We're back inside the fence. It's a fenced-off area. Okay, about a minute and a half goes by, and I hear, pow, pow. And then I hear Mr. James say, oh, I've been hit. And then he turns and he starts firing. Just shooting wildly at random, just firing a 9mm Glock, just shooting it. And then I see my brother-in-law. I didn't even know he had a gun until I saw him shooting the gun. So I'm out there in the streets with two guys with guns, and I don't have one.
So your car was hit by gunfire?
Yes, ma'am.
So how are you certain that it was either of the two defendants' guns that caused the damage to your car?
Well, the guys were shooting in they were shooting towards the clubhouse, and so they were returning fire towards the guys.
Towards your car?
Right, because the guy that shot Mr. James, his car was parked parallel to mine.
Where were you shot, Mr. James?
I was shot in the chest on the right side, went in the right side, out underneath here, and in my arm. The bullet is still in my arm. I'm right-handed.
Either of you have licenses for these pistols?
I didn't have a pistol. That's why I do have a concealed weapons permit, but I didn't have a weapon that night. I got a police report here with 5 witnesses say what happened.
Let me see the report.
And none of them ever said I had a gun. And the way he's describing the whole situation is totally untrue.
Well, let me hear your version of it.
Okay. The situation up till us coming out the gate is about true. We go across the street. Nathaniel's ahead of me. He's talking to the guys. I walk over there. All of a sudden, I see one of his friends pull a gun out behind Nathaniel. I said, no, you can't do that. But at that time, there's a crowd of people out in the streets looking at this. So we back up and walk into the yard. It's a fenced-off yard. We're standing in there maybe 2-3 minutes later. I look through the gate. It's a cyclone fence. I look in the gate and I see something shiny. And it's a guy with a gun poking through the gate. And he shot me in the left arm, then in the right chest. I go down on the ground, and all I hear is some gunfire. And these guys across the street is shooting up the world. And where his car is parked was, how can you say, if we were facing east, his car was north of that.
All right. Sometime earlier, before this gunfire erupted, you told me that you saw people who you considered suspect, dangerous enough to go and warn everybody. Listen to me carefully, sir. One of them exited the car and pulled out a gun from his waistband. My question to you is, why at that moment did you not immediately go into the clubhouse, call the police, and indicate someone had menaced you with a gun?
Well, that was I'm not a member of the club, okay? I don't have access to a cell phone or anything. This is why I went in to tell these guys.
No, Mr. Stevens.
Why didn't they call the cops?
You're just shifting responsibility, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Clarence Stevens says during a gun battle outside a biker bar, his car was shot up. He says Nathaniel Ford and James Ainley owe for repairs.
You saw them get out of the car, one of them, pull out a gun, threaten you, anybody else, whoever else was there. You can't tell me you're not a club member, so you couldn't go and use the phone.
Well,
that's ridiculous.
This is why I told you.
He has free access to the clubhouse. We know who Clarence is. He come in and out. We talk and socialize.
Your Honor, I don't come to the club like this and get on the phone and do all these things. I don't want them to sit here and make it seem like I'm like a brother to these guys. It's not that. That's not the case at all.
Mr. Stevens, instead of trying to anticipate what you're going to say, why don't you listen to me? When you saw this person who was clearly out for no good because it ended up him shooting somebody, why didn't you go in and call the police? And don't tell me you're not a club member and you didn't have a cell phone. I don't want to hear that.
I didn't have any access to the phone, Your Honor. I was outside talking to my friend. I went in to tell them not to come out. I said, these guys out here have guns, thinking that maybe they would call the cops.
Why didn't you call the police?
I didn't have a phone, Your Honor.
Mr. Stevens, you didn't have a phone, so fix your car. I don't know whose guns caused the damage to your car.
Can I say something? Your Honor, look, this kind of stuff, you see this picture? Just last week on the 10th, these kinds of things have been happening for the last 14 months. This lady's dead, Your Honor. She's got 3 kids. You see what I'm saying? This kind of stuff goes on. Nobody called the cops down there. Then these guys are irresponsible.
I beg your pardon, I was on the phone.
Just a second, Mr. Stevens. This is a court, so I have to fix responsibility. And I am not saying that any actions that they involved themselves in on that day was appropriate. Certainly, even according to your complaint, before there was any gunfire, exchange of gunfire, this gentleman was shot, and then gunfire erupted back and forth. So I want you to listen to me very carefully, sir. Who did you go to the club with that night?
Myself.
Okay. So it's 3:30 in the morning. You've already been to another club. How did you get to the club?
I drove.
And I assume that you weren't intoxicated?
No.
Perfect. So if you see a guy with a gun around the location where, according to you, people get shot, people get killed, you get in your car, you go home, you call the police. If you're concerned, if you're a concerned citizen, that's what you do. But you stayed for 40 minutes. So you see this thing,
I didn't go inside.
What?
I didn't go inside except for to warn them.
You stayed for 40 minutes.
But I was out. I went in to tell them that the guys had guns, and then I came back outside, Your Honor.
Why?
I was getting ready to go.
No, getting ready to go is not going. You say, I'm leaving. I've warned you guys. You do what you want to do. I'm getting in my car and going. But if you stay outside, and what happened was he used the gun. And then there was an exchange of gunfire. I can't hold them responsible. They may have behaved badly, but you behaved irrationally by staying. I can't help you, Mr. Stevens. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
They were his friends out there with the gun disturbing everything.
I had no idea there was going to be a shootout.
He honestly saw through his little lies and so on and everything.
He could have got killed at the club.
It went from $1,700 to fix his car. Next thing I'm looking at paperwork, $2,400, you know. So, yes, it was about money.
39-year-old Philadelphia transit worker Vanessa Coleman says a man she used to date, Theodore Smith, stole her car for 2 days, then returned it damaged. Mr. Smith claims he had Vanessa's permission to take the car and is not responsible for the damage to the vehicle.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Judges, number 220 on the calendar, the matter of Coleman versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
All right, Miss Coleman, you say that Mr. Smith stole your car.
Yes.
He said he borrowed it with your permission. In any event, the car, something happened to it, it was damaged. You want to get paid?
Yes.
So first, let's start on the 27th of June, which is when this whole thing came down, I understand. He took the keys from your house.
Yes.
Tell me how that happened.
I had got home from work early this day, and the maintenance man, name is Derek, asked me if I could run him and Mr. Smith up to cash their check.
He was a neighbor of yours?
Yes, he's a neighbor. And so I did this and came back home, and I knew I was going out that evening, so I came in to change, to get ready. So while I was in the house changing, Mr. Smith rang my bell. I asked who it was, and it was saying he responded, so I went to the door and let him in. So we were down there talking, and I noticed that I have a countertop in my living room that the keys were laying there. So I went back upstairs and told him that I was getting ready to go out that evening, and I left him downstairs. So anyway, as I got ready to come back down to leave, I noticed that my keys weren't on the counter anymore. So I figured, well, maybe I took them back upstairs. And I went back upstairs, and I didn't see the keys up there either. And I checked all in my pocketbook, and I couldn't find my keys.
Didn't find the keys? So did you call the police?
I called the police that evening because I waited to see maybe he would bring the car back. So I waited and waited, and I did finally call the police and report the car stolen that evening.
Now, that was June 27th?
June 27th.
When did you get the car back?
My niece found the car June 29th, which was a Sunday.
And what was the condition of the car when it was found?
Trying to move the car wouldn't move.
Okay, so it was damaged.
So it was damaged.
Well, he acknowledges that the car was damaged while you were driving it, sir. Now, why don't you tell me your version of how you got possession of these keys?
Ms. Coleman and I, we live 2 doors apart from each other.
Had you been friends before this happened?
Yes, we were. Yes, we were. We were also seeing each other.
No,
and
we weren't,
probably starting what I would call the start of a relationship.
What do you mean?
She and I had spent time in each other's house a couple of times, having dinner, ice cream, these sort of things.
That's nice.
I've used the car before, and I've driven a car and brought it back.
With her permission?
With her permission. I had asked her, could I use the car to make an errand to my mother's house? My mother lives in walking distance, 10 minutes, and driving, it's 2 minutes. The car was parked 4 blocks away from my mother's house.
Just a second. You asked her, according to you, you asked her if you could do an errand to your mother's house.
Yes, I did.
You didn't tell me what she said.
She said yes. She gave me the keys, which was a full set of keys. At that time...
And you intended to be back in...
In moments, because she had told me she...
You intended to be back in moments, and you knew she was going out?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
She gave me the keys. Her and the landlord were standing on the pavement, talking, as I got into the car and exited the block. About 5 minutes into the journey after the car, I stopped at the intersection. I tried to engage the shifter to go on. The car wouldn't move. It didn't
All right,
respond.
you knew at that point, to make a long story a little shorter, you knew at that point that there was something wrong with the car.
Yes.
What did you do then?
I had a friend who was with me.
Which friend was with you?
A gentleman I picked up.
Just a second. A gentleman you picked up where?
This was on the block of my mother's house. The
Who
street
was
where
that?
my mother lived at.
Who was that?
It was a gentleman named Boo.
Boo.
Right.
Does Boo have a last name?
Boo Rogers, yes he does.
What'd you pick up Boo for?
He was going in the same direction I was coming back. So I
you
was
had
giving him a lift.
So what you're saying to me was you had already been at your mother's house.
Yes.
So you did the errand at your mother's
Yes, I
house
did.
already. You sure about that?
Yes.
Go ahead. And you're on your way back with Boo in the car.
Right.
Go ahead.
The car broke down at the intersection. We both got out. We pushed the car. At that time, I'm not knowing too much about cars. I asked him. He didn't know too much about cars. So I went to a payphone. I called a friend who did know about cars. He came and checked the car out. He told me, Mike...
Why didn't you call her?
Well, at that particular time, I wanted to see what was wrong with the car.
Now listen, Mr. Smith, let's talk logic here, sir. You said you were going to be back in 2 minutes. You knew she was going out. Now you're out for well beyond 2 minutes. You pick up Boo. Then you call one friend. The person that you don't call is the person whose car it is, who has to go out, and you know that she was going out. So I don't understand why you didn't pick up the phone and say, I'm going to try to fix the car. I'm having some trouble with it.
I agree with you.
Good. I'm glad you do. It makes me feel better. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the gentleman came, we looked at the car, and he told me that the clutch was dry. It needed hydraulic clutch fluid.
Okay, so then what did you do?
Well, we tried
Now
to
we're looking for fluid.
Right.
We got boo and we got fluid.
Exactly. I tried to get the fluid.
How did you try to get the fluid, sir?
We went to an auto supply store.
And how far away from where the car was?
It was a
that?
distance.
How about how far, sir?
10-minute ride.
How'd you get there?
In his car. The gentleman who came to look at the car, who was a
Just a
mechanic.
minute. Let me understand this. All this time you haven't called her yet?
No, I haven't.
Keep going.
That was it.
And so what'd you do?
Upon not getting the car started, again, I did not call her. I went home. I tried to contact her then.
How did you try to contact her?
By calling her on the phone.
And what happened?
I got no answer.
I'm having too good a time with this, please. So you tried to contact her, you called her, and there was no answer.
Exactly.
So I assume you wrote out a note.
No, I did not.
Because you're right next
No,
door.
I
You
did
wrote
not.
out a note and you say, don't worry about your car, it broke down, here's where it's located. You went and tacked it on a door.
No, I did not.
No, you did not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The reason why I sued him for that because...
to teach him a lesson.
Yes.
And later today...
So you made trouble between her and her son. You were a pig about the money that you won. You really are nasty.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 39-year-old Vanessa Coleman says Theodore Smith stole her car and returned it 2 days later with extensive damages. Theodore says Vanessa gave him permission to take the car and denies any responsibility for the damage.
It's not really urgently important, Miss Coleman. Listen to me. It's not urgently important whether he drove the car with or without your permission. He's responsible for the damage to your car. Now, I don't think he can look me in the eye and deny that, right, sir?
I agree with you.
Right. So, did you have the car fixed?
Oh, yes.
Let me see the repair bill. When did you finally tell her where the car was?
Never.
I didn't. The car was recovered Sunday morning. I woke up, came out, the car was in front of her house.
Weren't you curious as to how she found it?
Not really. No. No.
I don't understand these bills, Miss Coleman.
Okay,
Let's understand.
I don't understand them either,
the short bill is the actual estimate that all the damages that I had done to the car. The other estimate is just for the damage that he did, which was to the clutch and the shifter.
Well, $460. Is that what you paid for the damage that he did?
I paid $900 and what is it, $945?
Yeah,
I
but
paid
you
for
know,
all
you're
the
not talking about a
damages.
wheel alignment and front brakes.
See, I didn't
and
charge
outer
him.
seats.
I didn't charge him for that. I just charged him for the clutch and the shifter.
But she's
Yes.
suing me for $945.
Just a second.
And the reason why I sued him for that because
to teach him a lesson.
Yes, he denied. He denied to pay me anything except for the $60 he gave me.
Thank you.
He gave you $60?
He gave me $60.
What'd you give her $60 for, sir?
The first day that this had happened and she told me she was putting the car in the shop,
Yeah.
I said, okay, I'm going to give you some money to start on. This is initial payment. Give me a receipt and I'll pay the rest gladly.
Right.
She never gave me a receipt. She refused to give me a receipt. This happened
All right. Got it. Listen, Miss Coleman. He has to pay for the damage he did on the car. If I could
Thank you.
add on a couple of bucks for bad manners, you know, I would do that, but that's not what we're about.
Yes.
He's got to pay for the damage he did to the car, $460.
Yes.
And I would suggest to you, if you ever made a loan to him of your car or anything else that you value.
Never in.
What?
Never.
Right.
You know it.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
I'll be back to you right.
Thank you.
And now the next case.
Parties on Travis versus Hood. Step forward, please.
Avid bingo player, 57-year-old Fanny Travis, is suing her son's girlfriend, Betty Hood, claiming they made a deal to split a $10,000 bingo jackpot if either of them won. Betty denies they had any agreement.
Miss Travis, you are an avid bingo player.
Yes, I am.
And the defendant used to be your friend.
My son's girlfriend.
According to your complaint, you were playing bingo one night back in August.
Yeah.
And you played together, you and the defendant, and your daughter,
My daughter.
and a couple of other people.
Not the one, not her. She's not here.
Another daughter.
Another daughter.
And then there was advertised a super bingo party for September.
Yes.
And you had to buy packs of $50 worth of bingo cards.
That's right.
So you say you bought packs of cards for several people, including the defendant.
That's right.
And it was your agreement with her that what?
If anybody won, I would get half of the winning.
And then she won.
She won.
$10,000.
Right.
Bingo. She gave you $1,000.
Right.
And said, I'm not giving you any more.
No, she never said that.
What did she say?
The people at the bingo was going to count me the $5,000. You only get $5,000 that night. The next $5,000 we had to come back that Monday. It was on a Saturday night. So they was finna give me the money because the bingo staff knew I had bought all the cards. I told them to count it to her. At the time, they counted out $1,000. She gave me the $1,000, and they gave me the slip and told me to come back Monday and pick up the rest of the money. And in the car, I gave her the slip and told her to wait. Monday, I'll go with you, and I want the rest of my money.
All right, you gave her the slip.
And told her in the car, I gave her the slip and told her I would go with her Monday and pick up the rest of my money.
Okay, so you said, I'll go with you Monday.
And pick up the rest of the money.
Okay, and what happened?
She dodged me all day Monday. I was at bingo waiting on her. She went out late Monday night. Had my grandkids tell me that Dad and Betty told us not to tell you that they gone to bingo. So she went out and picked up the money. When I got my son Monday night on the phone, he made a statement, you made $1,000 profit off of her. I said that was not the agreement. She made a $9,000 profit off of me because we were supposed to split. So that I finally got her Tuesday night and asked her for my money. She said, I spent it. And I said, no, I want my money. You knew it wasn't all yours to spend. Then I called my son. He came over the next day, which was a Tuesday. I went and filed a claim on her. Then my son came up to the house the first time in his 30-year-old life, cursed me like a dog, saying that if I go through with it, he wasn't going to be my son no more.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're not a very nice young lady. She didn't know you a thing. Who are you to her? Nobody.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Fanny Travis says she made a deal with Betty Hood that they would split a $10,000 bingo jackpot if either of them won. Betty denies they had any such arrangement and feels she was being generous by giving Fanny $1,000 of her winnings.
Before she got the bingo cards, according to you and according to your daughter, you told her that if you win, half is mine.
Yes.
Is that correct? Before she had the cards in her possession.
Correct.
Okay, Betty, let's hear your version of this.
When she won that $2,500 that night, she was giving me and her daughter $100. And she sent out that 100, that 50 go for that package. I did not hear no split winning. And now she's saying for that, when I won the $10,000, that they gave her the receipt, they did not give her the receipt. I signed for that receipt that night. That's the only way that money came to me. I had the receipt in my belongings.
Well, my question is, you say that the previous month, she won some money.
Yes.
And very generously gave you $100. Only gave you $50 in cash and then bought the other packet for the other $50.
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Did that happen?
No. I only gave her 50. She didn't even know I was buying these packs. She never knew I was buying these packs until 3 weeks later.
That's very generous of you to give them anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have to give them anything. Why did you give her $1,000?
Just being generous.
You had a conversation with the plaintiff that night, the night that you won the $10,000, correct?
Correct.
And she made it clear to you,
No,
after
she-
you won, let's
No.
not say before, after you won, that she expected half of your winnings. Is that right?
Correct.
Did you say to her that night, I'm not going to give you half the winnings?
No, I said you must be joking.
No. Let me ask you this question, Ms. Hood.
Mm-hmm.
Does this sound familiar? That when you were leaving that night, and she said to you that should anybody win with cards that she bought, there would be a 50-50 split. And you said, we ain't gonna win no way anyway. Does that sound familiar to you?
I say that all the time.
I asked you on that night, did that sound familiar to you?
Okay, what was the question again?
You said, we ain't gonna win no way anyway.
Right.
Isn't that what you said?
Right.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're not a very nice young lady, Miss Hood. First of all, you've made trouble between this lady and her son.
No, I did not.
Oh, sure you did. Oh, sure you did. First of all, just by being there that night, by breathing that night in September, you were coming away $5,000 richer. You didn't make an investment. You didn't buy the cards. You didn't plan the evening. Nothing. She gave it to you. And she was generous to you at other times, too. She'll know you a thing, except that you're the mother of at least one of her grandchildren. So she was being nice to you, and I assume she's a generous lady anyway. So you made trouble between her and her son. You were a pig about the money that you won. Absolutely did the wrong thing. And Miss Hood, life has a strange way of coming up and biting you in the back if you do the wrong thing. What you did over money, by destroying this little family, she had a son who she never had a harsh word with. And I assume she did other things. She ever babysit for you?
Yes.
You had to run to the doctor or something? Had to run someplace else? She took care of your son? Yes?
Yes.
You really are nasty. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $4,000. You already got your $1,000? $4,000. That's all.
Party's iced tea. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Like I tried to tell her, she knew it was wrong, and she knew I had been nice to her. And like all she had to do was give me another $1,000 and clear it up. She wouldn't do that.
I don't have nothing to say. I do not have nothing to say. I still don't have nothing to say. Nothing at all. Mm-hmm.
She has nothing to say.
She has nothing to say. Nothing she can say.
39-year-old David Stelly is suing the mother of his child, Kathy Willows, for not paying him for a car. Kathy says he repossessed it after missing one payment.
Order. All rise. Judge, this is case number 378 on the calendar in the matter of Stelly versus Willow. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Mr. Stelly, you and the defendant had a long relationship, I gather from your papers, and you have a 9-year-old child together, correct?
Yes.
Boy or a girl?
Boy.
A nice round number, about $5,000.
Yes, she does.
A nice round number, about $5,000.
Yes, she does.
You want to explain why?
Yes, I've loaned Miss Wills several $1,000s for different things. Repairing her automobile, loaned for a down payment on a house, a loan for a car, which I took title in collateral. Miss Willows has promised to pay me back for these loans, and she has failed to do so.
Let's take the loans specifically, sir.
Okay.
Loan number one.
Loan number one was for a transmission for a Chevy Blazer that Miss Kathy Willows owns.
And how much was that loan?
That loan was in the amount of $1332.18. Here's the check.
Okay, so let's do this one at a time. First of all, how long have you been apart? Long time?
About 5 years.
Okay, and how long did you actually live together?
About 3.
Did he give you money?
He paid the repair guys to fix the transmission.
And was there an agreement that...
He paid the repair guys to fix the transmission.
And was there an agreement that... Time?
You might call it that, yes.
Time?
You might call it that, yes.
Okay, what's this next alleged loan for, sir?
Okay, that was for $6,000 for a Pontiac Grand Am.
All right, now this was in 1994, so you were separated at the time. You were no longer living together. She acknowledges that you made a loan to her to buy this car, correct?
Correct.
Am I right?
Well, to purchase the car, yes.
What did I say?
Yeah, I said yes. I'm sorry.
Now, how much of the $6,000 did you pay him back?
Well, the first year and a half that I had the car, I was taking care of my ailing father. I was out of work, and I didn't give David any money toward the vehicle. Then a year and a half later, I finally got enough money together to move out. When I was moving, David said, "You can't take the car. That's my car." I said, "David, I need that car. I'd just gotten a job, and I needed the car." And I said, "I can pay you $50 a month." And here's a history of the payments that I made to him. For a year and a half, I made $50 a month payments.
What's the total?
I think it totaled $550.
So on a $6,000 loan, let us assume that you paid him $550. Then, Mr. Stelly, you repossessed the car.
Yes, I did. I repossessed the car because she was failing to keep a steady payment, and I felt that she should be paying me more money to pay off this loan fast, because Miss Willow has now entered into a new relationship, and I don't want to be financially responsible for her anymore.
Okay. It is clear to me that you had an
I am financially
arrangement.
responsible for my son, but I'm not going to be financially responsible for her.
Mr. Stelly, listen to me carefully, sir. $550, assuming that's what she paid you in $50 increments, and you acknowledge that she made some payments to you, right?
Yes.
But then you repossessed the car.
For lack
What
of
did
payment.
you do with the car?
What did I do with the car?
That was my question.
I have done nothing with it. I have offered the car back to Miss Willow, and she wanted to make a more reasonable payment.
No, you have the car.
I know I have the car, but I have offered the car back to Miss Willow so that she can make a more reasonable payment to me, so that she could continue to have a vehicle. I did not take this vehicle to be mean or anything. I took the vehicle so Miss Willow could sit there and see that I am not pussyfooting around anymore, that I would like to have a payment so she could be out of debt to me.
Mr. Stelly, she doesn't want the car anymore. According to her answer, she went out and she bought another car.
Yes,
Is that
she
right?
did.
That's true.
So now you have the car, sir.
Yes, I do.
So what you have to do, Mr.
Okay,
Stelly,
right here is
sell the car. It's in your name.
Right here is our quotes for Kelly Blue Book on the value of the car is. I'm asking the court for the difference between the two.
Well, let me see the Blue Books.
Okay, there's one in here for good.
I have Kelly Blue Book, too.
Let me take a look.
And the car's in good to excellent condition,
Let me take
Your
a look.
Honor.
The car is in good to fair condition, Your Honor.
She's got good to excellent. Here.
I got those quotes from off the internet.
Well, you have to believe the internet, right? Okay. What year is this car?
It's an 89.
And you have the sedan?
Four-door.
Four-door sedan, right? Okay. Wholesale is $2,850. Suggested retail is $5,000. Okay. Return that to her. And you have, sir, on your page is the trade-in value in good shape.
Yes, that's
Is
what
20
I consider. That's what I consider the car to be in. I have a videotape of the vehicle showing the conditions of the tires, which are all basically all four of them are bald.
Sir,
it's missing a
you
muffler.
have trade.
It's missing a muffler.
Trade-in value, sir. Trade-in
That's,
value is.
that's what I got off the internet. Okay. Thank you. I'll be.
Your Honor,
Yeah.
I have maintenance records and repair receipts on the car to
Whatever.
show
The
that
car
I took
is at
care
least
of the car.
the car is at least worth $3,000.
Yes, I agree to that.
At least $3,000, and she has paid you $550. So that's $3,550, leaving $2,450 after you sell it. Right?
That's if I get that.
Well, how am I supposed to know, sir? I mean, you come to court. It's your responsibility
That's right. It
to
is
come.
my
It's your
responsibility. That's why I got this tape right here. That shows you the condition the car
I'm not
is
interested in
in.
seeing your tape, sir. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you had sold the car and you came to court and you said, this is what I got for the car in an arm's length transaction, I put an ad in the paper, this is what I sold it for, then I would know. Right now, I am speculating because of the posture of this case.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is what they're trying to sell their cars for.
I don't care. You brought me the papers. I don't care what other people are doing. How do I know you didn't put those ads in the paper?
And later today,
I tried to tell him not to eat it, and he ate it anyways. He was drunk.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. David Stelly wants the mother of his child, Kathy Willows, to pay for a car he repossessed.
Okay. What else?
I have other loans.
Like what?
Like the down payment on a house.
This is ridiculous.
This check right here is for $15,000.
Sir,
no.
Sir, listen to me, sir. You're in the wrong court.
No,
if she owes you $15,000, then you're in the wrong court.
She paid me back $9,000 of it.
Sir, you're in the wrong court. That's still $6,000. Go ahead. Give me the next one.
You know, Your Honor, I have given this woman thousands of dollars. I have let her live in my house. Lived in my house.
With our son.
With my son.
No.
And her son. Okay.
What else?
These are two clips out of the auto section that people are trying to sell their Pontiac Grand Ams, and this is what they're trying to sell their cars for.
I don't care. You brought me the papers. You brought me the papers. You brought me the papers. I don't care what other people are doing. How do I know you didn't put those ads in the paper? You brought me the papers. I'm using your figures.
Okay.
Fair condition.
Why don't we get your paper?
I'm using your paper, sir. The papers that you gave me.
Yeah, okay, from off the internet.
I couldn't live with you 2 minutes. Anything else you want to tell me?
I just want the money that this woman has promised to repay me.
Let me explain something to you, sir. From me, against her, you are going to be awarded $2,450. She has already given you $550. Now, you are going to sell the car, and based upon your figures, you're going to get $3,000 for the car. I mean, am I missing something?
No, you're not missing anything. Okay, you're saying I can and probably will sell the car for $3,000.
You want me to dismiss your lawsuit, Mr. Stelly, and wait until it's without prejudice? You can leave.
No,
Go out and sell the car, and then come back. Is that what you'd like me to do?
No.
Be more than happy to do that.
No, I would like to get this thing settled so we close this chapter of our lives.
Good. So then I'm awarding you, sir, $2,450.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Party's not excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Party's on Milner versus Dutter. Step forward, please.
19-year-old Flora Milner is suing her former landlord, Francis Dutter, 44, for return of personal belongings. Ms. Dutter says Flora will get them back when she reimburses her for utility bills and a dead fish.
Ms. Milner, according to your complaint, you rented a room from the defendant in her home, and you moved into her home with your baby, who was 18 months old. Is that right?
Yes.
And that lasted only several months. You moved out. She kept some of your things. You want your things back.
That's right.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
She says that you owe her money, and that when you pay her the money, you can get your things back. Is that this case?
Correct.
Ms. Milner, what month did you move into the house?
December.
And what was the rent arrangement?
We had a verbal agreement of $250 plus I'd pay my phone bill.
Is that right?
Correct.
And you had no written lease?
No. No.
And you lived in the house until, according to this, the month of June.
That's right.
Something happened in the month just prior to that. You wanted to move out. Did you pay your rent for the month of June?
I did.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And you moved out before July 1st?
That's correct.
Now, she's not suing for anything other than her property back.
That's right.
And you say you have her property.
Correct.
So you tell me, what money do you say she owes you?
She owes me for 2 months that she had her stuff in the room, storage fees.
Just a second. Wait a second. Hold on. Hold on a second. Say she owes you $500 for July and August rent.
Correct.
Well, she wasn't living there in July and August.
Correct.
So why does she owe you for July and August rent?
She gave me no notice. We had made an agreement, at least give me 2 months, at least give me a month's notice. I gave her 2 months to please, you know, if that, to be out by that time, but give me notice of some kind because I rented the room to her.
She's not required to give you any notice, madam. You don't have a rental agreement with her. She doesn't have to give you any notice. She paid her rent through June. So let's get rid of July and August rent.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It was a goldfish that he ate.
How big a goldfish?
It was yay big.
A big goldfish.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Flora Milner says former landlord Francis Dutter won't return her personal belongings. Francis says Flora still owes her money for bills and a dead fish.
Now, phone bills June and July.
Correct.
She wasn't there in July.
She didn't pay me for July.
She wasn't there in July. How could you have a phone bill for July?
It carries on through.
Well, I want to know what her June phone bill was.
It runs anywhere from $20 to $25 a month.
How much do you owe for the phone?
It was $14 for 2 months that I owed her when I had moved out.
And let's say you owed her another $20 that she got in her next month's bill. That's $34. Now, the electrical connection fee, water deposit from when she moved in, what is that?
We pay the first-time turn-on fee, and then I also paid the water to be turned on plus an extra $15 to be turned on the next day.
You say here that you had to put down the deposit for the gas and electric when you moved into the house because there was no gas and electric in the house for 2 weeks. Is that correct?
Not the gas, just the light and the water.
The light and the
I
water.
put the deposits down. I have the statement from them.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, you may.
So if I gather correctly, you are suing her for the cost of reconnecting when she canceled the accounts, when she moved out. Am I correct?
Yes.
Well, you can't get that. So far what she owes you is $34. Okay, and this says you have a $40 credit. All right. And when the bill was closed, there is now a credit of 40 cents, which means that there were $40 taken out for utilities. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Well, that's what this clearly says from light and water. All right. So now let's get to this reimbursement for a dead fish. What's that about?
Well, when I was out of town, I drove over to Colorado with my daughter, and I asked Flora, please do not have a party at my house. And then when I was over there, she had called me and said that a fish had died. So I took it as the cat got the fish. She told me a cat got the fish. Well, 2 or 3 weeks later after that, she had admitted to my son that because his friends were saying, people were saying, hey, you got to think about it. Well, Flora threw a big party and the kids were intoxicated, and one of them, thinking about it, well, Flora threw a big party, and the kids were intoxicated, and one of them bit the head off of a live fish.
Did that happen?
Yes, it did.
Okay. And this was when you had a party there?
I had about 15 people there.
And somebody acted like an idiot?
Yeah.
One of your friends?
No, it was her son's friend.
Her son's friend?
Yes.
Who was it?
It was her son's friend, Kenny.
How old is her son?
Her son's 19.
And how old is this Kenny?
19.
So Kenny was the one who bit the fish?
Yes, he did.
In half? Do you know Kenny's last name?
No, I do not.
Do you know Kenny's
No, I
last
don't.
name? Ask your son.
Okay.
Good. Now, so what I have is that she owes you $34 for a phone bill, and based upon what I saw from the power company, you probably owe her for a power and light bill that she paid that she was not supposed to pay, that was taken out of her $40 deposit. So that comes out to about a wash. Therefore, I don't believe that there was any reason for you to retain her property, and you have to return it. She doesn't have to pay you for July and August. Your son's friend bit the head off a fish.
He should have never been invited.
Well, your son is over 18, is he not? Your son is over 18, is he
Ma'am,
not?
she should have never had that party there.
That
That's
may
what
be
I'm requesting.
correct.
So I feel it's her responsibility because she allowed them to come into my home when I was out of town.
Was your son living there?
Ma'am, he was at Camp Pendleton.
He was there that weekend.
No,
when
he
you were...
was not.
He was there that evening.
He was not. He was in Camp Pendleton.
Just a second. Was her son
No, her
there?
son wasn't there.
Her son wasn't there.
No, he wasn't there.
So how did Kenny get to this party?
I invited him.
Then you pay.
Okay.
For the fish.
All right.
Then you pay for the fish. I'm sorry. I misunderstood. I thought your son was at home.
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
How much did this fish cost?
Well, it was a purchase. He had it for 4 years. It was purchased at $25. Here's the fish, and they go by the size.
No, that wasn't the fish.
Oh, that wasn't the
It was
fish.
a goldfish.
It was a goldfish.
It
There
a
was
goldfish.
two of them that had died.
There was.
Just
It
a
was a
second.
goldfish that he ate.
How big a goldfish?
It was yay big.
A big goldfish.
And I offered her, when I went to retrieve my property, I offered her a koi fish from my dad's pond.
She's lying. She is lying.
Whatever. He bought the fish, you say, for $25. So right now she owes you $25. You have to return her property, madam.
Oh, yeah, that's no problem.
Good. And you owe her $25 for the fish.
Okay.
You got it?
All right.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It really upset me to find out what she did when I was out of town. She allowed that friend to bite off the fish's head, which is really pretty sad.
I didn't know until it was actually being eaten. So, and I tried to tell him not to eat it, and he ate it anyways. He was drunk.
"20-year-old Wendy Cox is suing her uncle, 50-year-old Joseph Tagliabore. Wendy says before her grandmother died, she promised Wendy she could have her 1991 Ford Thunderbird. Joseph says the car should be sold and the money divided equally between him and his siblings.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is number 178 on the calendar in the matter of Cox versus Tagliabore. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Cox, this is your uncle.
Yes.
And who are you?
I'm Joe's wife.
Your grandmother, your mother, passed away.
Yes.
According to your complaint, your grandmother, with whom you enjoyed a lovely relationship, promised you
Her vehicle, of whichever it may be, when she passed away, which is a 91 Thunderbird.
When did she make this promise to you?
This was, she had an 88 Thunderbird, I think it was 88 or 89, which my other aunt had received, and at the time I just turned 16, and she promised me then the white Thunderbird, which went to my aunt, who also has children and needed a vehicle. So she always promised me that she would leave me her car.
You must have had a hot grandmother. She liked Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
So she passed away recently. According to your complaint, the only signed will makes no mention of that bequest.
No. It was also done in 77.
Could I bring up something, Your Honor?
You, sir, are the executor of the estate.
Yes, according to the signed will, yes.
And is there another will, sir?
Yes. This is a will that we received from a attorney that said that from the discussion I had with my sister, Deborah, which is Wendy's mother, that he had told her that...
You can't tell me all these things. This is all hearsay. You received another will.
Yes.
That is unsigned.
That's the will.
Okay, and this was executed in 1992.
Yes.
All right, let me understand this. We have a 1977 will which makes no mention, that is signed.
Yes.
And makes no mention of this car bequest. Then you have a 1992 will, which according to the plaintiff does discuss the car.
Yes.
And let me just take a look at it. Mr. Taglavor, were you satisfied that your mother had, in fact, in 1992, had a change of heart, despite the fact that you didn't sign this will?
Yes, I didn't know it. Yes.
Could you sit down, please? Just sit down. The answer is yes. Evidently, there was some dispute that your mother had with somebody else, and she, in fact, changed her will.
Yes.
But did not sign it.
As far as I know.
As far as you know, didn't sign it.
Right.
Is there anything that you know about that I haven't said yet?
Yes.
Go ahead.
In the hospital when my grandmother was dying, my husband, my mother, my uncle Bill, and her other son, and my mother, the executor on the second will, she was telling us that her phone book, bank receipts, her will, stuff for her funeral, everything was in her briefcase. We found everything except for her will, which then in her phone book, in 2 different spots, it is noted, Opendahl, the one that drew up the second will, is her attorney has her will. That's how they found him. This is her phone book.
It says in that, attorney has will.
Has will.
Fine.
And I also have a letter from the attorney saying that he was the one that drew it up, and no, she never signed it, that it was her right to be able to take her copy with her, and it was up to her.
Ms. Cox, so then what I'm saying is accurate. Let's put this in order. We have a signed 1977 will, which you acknowledge does not make any bequest of this car to you. Were you born in 1977?
I was born in 76.
Okay, so you were a year old. She wouldn't have left you a car.
No.
Later, you both agree that your mother and your grandmother had the intention of changing her will to leave you the car, but she never fully executed the will, which means she did not have it signed and witnessed. That's according to you, madam, because you just told me that in her papers, in her book, it says attorney has the will. And if this is the will that you got from the attorney, it is unsigned, correct?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
So here we have the problem.
This is a copy of the will from 1977.
I'll take a look at it. Mr. Taglavor,
That's where
listen
I got
to me.
the address.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you were very honest with me a moment ago. I assume that you love your mother, and you know in your heart that she may have not been good at executing this 1992 will, but that was her intention, that your niece have this car.
My mother spoke to me in '96 in November.
Who are you?
I'm her daughter also. She called me in Kentucky, was calling me, and I brought up my will. She brought up her will. Nothing was ever mentioned. She said, I have 6 kids. If there should be anything left, we divide it equally. Nothing was ever mentioned once. Wendy didn't know. None of us kids knew that this other will existed. Mom never mentioned to not one of us.
Fine, but it does exist.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I didn't care if I lost the car or not. It was
Come on,
simple.
Wendy, come
you don't
on.
know. You do not know,
I know.
Joy.
You
no,
put
you
us
do not
through
know.
hell.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wendy Cox says her grandmother promised she could have her Ford Thunderbird after she died. But Wendy's uncle, Joseph Tagliavore, claims his mother's will says all of her possessions are to be divided between him and his siblings.
How much property did your mother leave?
The automobile was it, basically.
If you went to sell, sir, a 1991 Thunderbird, how much do you think you could get for it?
5,000 maybe.
Maybe.
6, maybe, depending on what kind of shape it was in.
Okay, well, what kind of shape is it in?
It's in very good shape.
Okay,
Low
so let's
mileage.
say, and there are 5 kids?
6.
6 kids. So let's make it easy for this old judge, because I'm not real good in math, as Bird can tell you. So let's say you can sell the car for $6,000. So everybody gets $1,000, right?
Right.
The laws in every jurisdiction require a will to be executed in a certain fashion. So we're talking here about a situation where the law, Ms. Cox, in this and practically every jurisdiction in this country requires that a will and any subsequent change of the will be signed and witnessed. Correct? On the other hand, we're talking about whatever is morally right with regard to this car. I believe that you two people know that it was your mother's intention for her granddaughter to have this car, for whatever reasons. I'm sure she has a lot of other grandchildren, but that's what she intended, for this car to go to this grandchild.
Well,
We're not talking about a lot of money here, Mr. Tagliavore. We're talking about, at most, $6,000 or $1,000 per person who would tend to inherit the money. So maybe we can come up with some way of being fair to your mother's wishes and also being fair to you, consistent with this will, which is unsigned.
Your Honor, I also have a letter from that attorney.
So what? I don't need the attorney. They don't dispute that. Ms. Cox, relax.
Okay, but...
Relax. They don't dispute
No,
that this...
I was just wondering if that would be... I know it's not signed. I'm just wondering if he
No,
can't
I
be a
don't read
witness,
letters
can
from
he?
attorneys. If you want a witness here, you have to have a witness here. What I started to say to you is perhaps we can come up with something that is fair, reasonably fair to each side. Would it be fair for Miss Cox to have use of this car until she decides to sell it, and when she decides to sell it, the proceeds of the sale of that car are distributed among the 6 of you? So that in some way, the last wishes of your mother would be honored. Would that be reasonable?
I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Well, I'm telling you, sir.
You don't understand the whole story, I don't believe.
Well, I'll listen to the whole story.
This started years ago when my mother first told me. She told me, you make sure that you take care of your brother James, which is on that will.
In 1977.
Long before then.
But
if anything happened to her, she said, you make sure that he gets his share of whatever is left because he will not take care of it himself. The money would mean a lot to him. It doesn't mean anything to me. My sister, nobody else in the family, you know, $1,000, like you say, is not much money.
So what's James's problem?
He's like one step from homeless, pretty much.
Is there something physically wrong with him, or does he have an alcohol or a drug problem?
No, he's partially disabled. He lives on state aid and stuff like that.
So he has money from Social Security disability.
Right. Which is not much.
I understand that.
$1,000 to him is a lot of money. And this is a promise I made to my mother. And then when this thing all started, as far as I was concerned, I thought my sister was supposed to be executor of this will, and this was all taken care of. She comes after my mother passes away. All the children come to my house. They say, we want you to take care of this. I told Mom in 1995 I wanted to be taken off as executor of the will. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. This was all news to me. So I agreed to do it. Then we started searching and finding stuff. Now this has turned into a total nightmare, and I'm the bad guy when the only thing I say there that is legally binding is that I have to do what the signed will says to do. Now, this is all the argument. This is all the bull that I have got from my family.
Sure, because
for doing what I was told to do by the law and asked to do by my siblings.
Well, you're right, Mr. Taglavor. You, unfortunately, are placed in that responsibility because it's not just you, but you have 5 siblings that you have to deal with,
Right,
too.
and my sister Paula says there's another will that leaves her the car. An orthographic will that she cannot find witnesses to. There's wills floating all over this place. But
Listen,
none of them are signed
there are a lot of
except
wills,
for
but no
one.
property.
Right.
You know, a lot of wills, but one old
And there's
Thunderbird.
nothing but a car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I did not want
Sure
to sue
you
him.
did, Wendy.
No, I
Yes,
didn't.
you did.
You don't
Yes,
know
you
me,
did.
Joy. You do not know me. This was the man I thought was my grandfather,
I've seen your
okay?
action.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wendy Cox is suing her uncle, Joseph Tagliavor, over her grandmother's will.
So I would assume
So-
that you cannot speak for your whole family.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. What do you want to say?
It's funny that Mother never said anything to anybody, not even to Wendy or Debbie. Nothing was said till after the funeral. I mean, she didn't say anything.
No.
Wendy
Who
never
didn't,
said anything.
just a second. Who didn't say anything?
Wendy didn't say nothing. Debbie didn't say nothing. Mom never said nothing.
Listen
that she
to me,
wanted
madam.
Wendy to have the car.
Listen to me, madam.
And I talked to her.
Listen to me.
Okay. I guess it doesn't matter. Whatever you want.
It doesn't. Let me tell you why it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
It upsets me.
Let me tell you why it doesn't matter. Very often when somebody is ill, or even before they're ill, when they are distributing their property by way of a will, and they don't want to create bad feeling while they're alive, they don't want one child to be angry with them or another child or a grandchild to be angry with them, they won't discuss what they're leaving in their will because they figure, when I'm dead, it don't make any difference. So they will not tell their children. Do you have children?
Mm-hmm.
You have children. Would you have felt badly when you spoke to your mother if your mother said to you, I'm leaving Wendy my only possession, my car? You would have been annoyed with your mother.
I wouldn't.
Sure you would have. And your kids and your children would have been annoyed. Why is Grandma just leaving? Is she the favorite? Why is Grandma just leaving Wendy the car and I don't get anything? Does that sound possible to you?
Well, if it's yes, possible. But if it was her wishes, Mom wasn't
No,
shy.
You don't, it's not a question of being shy. It's a question of not having your kids or your grandchildren annoyed with you while you're here to experience the feeling. Once you're gone, you're gone. Ms. Cox, you understand you have a problem.
Yeah.
And your problem is that even under the common law, which forms the basis of every law of every jurisdiction, a last will and testament was required to have some sort of a writing, at least signed by the, we call them the testator or the testatrix. That means the deceased. The only signed will that exists here that I see is one that was made in 1977. It doesn't make any mention of a car to you. Your uncle is not a bad guy. If he did anything else with this car, but do what it says to do in the original will, which is dispose of all my property equally among my children, he could be sued by the other siblings for a violation of his duties as executor of the will.
Thank you.
Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Well, that's unreasonable. That's unreasonable. I can't permit that to happen. My sense is he would like to do the right thing. But unless all of the siblings together say, you can turn the car over to Wendy because that's what Mom wanted, he can't do that. Do you understand? What I think is too bad is that if all the siblings understand that this was Mom's request, and all we're talking about really is $1,000 that you were concerned about for James, because that would mean a lot to him. Well, maybe Wendy here would say, I'll give James $1,000, give me the car.
My mother, the executor on the second will, which my uncle is not even in.
There's no
Agreed-
second will.
No, but I
Wendy,
know. Okay, but
there's
I'm
no
just saying.
second will.
All right, but my mom did agree to do that. My mom was willing to give my Uncle James $1,000 to make sure he was taken care of, because she loves her brother. It has nothing to do with the Thunderbird.
This is a very good
For
lesson to
$1,000,
everybody.
This is ridiculous.
It's a very good lesson to everybody. None of us feel that tomorrow is our last day, so we all tend to put off taking care of business, which keeps things orderly and organized in our lives and prevents this kind of thing happening to a family. Usually when these kinds of things happen within a family, when somebody dies, you're talking about a lot of money. It's absolutely outrageous to me that this is doing this to a family when you're talking about a car, which is the only asset that your mother had. So people who don't take care of their business by keeping abreast of what property they have and how they want to dispose of it and making clear dispositions of that property before they die are not doing their families a favor.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Morally, Wendy, I believe that you are correct that your grandmother wanted you to have this car. Legally, you cannot establish that to me. Moreover, I honestly believe, after speaking to your uncle, that if he had his druthers, he would give you this car. If it was a question of, listen, either the car is mine or it's Wendy's, he would say, you can have the car. He is not in that position. He stands in what we call a fiduciary relationship to his other siblings. He represents them. Unless there is a unity of spirit in that, among those 6 siblings, unless all of them say, give Wendy the car, despite the fact that that's not what your signed will says, he can be sued by them, and it ends up costing him $5,000 or $6,000, probably more with attorney's fees, because he'd have to hire an attorney to defend himself, and you would maybe get the car. So don't blame him. It's not his fault. It's really, unfortunately, your grandmother's fault, because she did not take care of business when she could have in 1992 by signing this will and having a fully executed copy. So this lawsuit is dismissed. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
On the next Judge Judy.
I didn't care if I lost the car or not. It was
Come
a
on,
simple.
Wendy, come
you don't
on.
know. You do not know.
I know.
Joy.
You
no,
put
you
us
do not
through
know.
hell.
Parties on Hayes versus Normandy. Step forward, please.
Jacqueline Hayes says she never got paid for babysitting Michelle Normandine's daughter. They used to be friends.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, it's number 82 on the calendar in the matter of Hayes versus Normandin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Hayes, you claim the defendant owes you $430 for babysitting that you did for her daughter.
Correct.
How did you find her as a babysitter?
Well, we were very good friends at the time.
And?
And we were very good friends, and she moved into the front house, my boyfriend's rental house, and her rent was raised up.
So she was your boyfriend's tenant?
Right. And her rent was up a little bit from where she was living, and it made it more difficult for her to be able to pay the daycare that she was paying, which she told me was $80 a week. And she asked me one day if I would do it for $50 a week. And I agreed. I agreed.
I'm going to give you an opportunity to have your turn. Go ahead.
I agreed because I'm a single mother. I was not working. I needed the money, and I wanted to try and help her out because we were friends, and I thought it was helping each other out.
So you started to babysit?
Uh-huh.
How long did you babysit?
I would say approximately about 10 weeks. I did not...
Approximately.
It was a 10-week period. I don't know I know it was from May to July, but I didn't pay attention because it was through friends. It was just a verbal agreement. I didn't document the exact dates, but I was counting the weeks as they went on.
Did you babysit every day?
I believe it's 3 to 4 days a week.
According to your complaint, months went by or weeks went by and there was no payment.
And then I started asking for a payment, and she told me that she hadn't received the check from her husband's company yet for her child support. And so I said, okay, well, I'll continue. And then as time went on, she started bringing things home that she was buying and such and showing them to me. And I would ask her for $20 one day because I didn't have any money to feed my child that night, and she didn't have any money to give me. So I said, well, you know, I'm going to have to discontinue the daycare because I need some money too, and I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. So then I discontinued the daycare. We stopped speaking for a while.
Is that why you stopped speaking?
Basically. We stopped speaking for a while, and then one day I came home and found $70 cash in an envelope, unmarked envelope, on my door. I assumed it came from her. So
did it?
Yes, it did.
So after a while, I thought, you know, the pressure, the tension was just too much. Living next to each other, we were friends. I wanted us to remain friends. And so I asked again if she could give me any more money towards the outstanding balance, and I sent her a collection letter at that time. And she didn't respond because I sent it certified and there was no pickup. So we stopped speaking once again, and I sent her this collection letter, in which I have, if you'd like to read it. And this one states basically the whole story. And it's very nice, it's very professional, and I just wanted her to know that I was serious, that I would go file a claim if she didn't make some type of compensation.
Well, but I need more specific dates from you than you've given me about May.
I just know from May to July.
Well, the
I mean,
beginning
it
of
was
May,
through
the middle of
friends,
May.
so, yeah, I would say the middle of May through July.
Now it's your turn.
I have receipts from the daycares that she was going to. Jackie offered to watch her. She volunteered to watch her a couple days a week to help me out because I was not receiving child support yet from my soon-to-be ex-husband.
Okay.
There was no set rate. There was no set days. There was no set weeks. She would always offer to cook, and she loved to barbecue. She'd have people over whenever at her boyfriend's house. I have, you know, there was no 10 weeks. There was maybe the most 2.5 weeks at the most.
I disagree with that
fully. And she was paid $70.
Well, let me see. You say you have receipts
I
from
have
daycare during the periods of part of May, June, and July.
Right. My grandma has always watched my daughter from day one.
I mean, are you saying that this was not a daycare? This was your grandmother?
My grandmother watched, no, she started off watching her when I first got a job.
I'm talking about during that period of time.
Yes,
during this period of time,
that she stayed
May,
there,
June, and July.
Yes, I have receipts.
From whom?
From the daycare my daughter goes to.
From a professional daycare
Correct.
person or daycare provider. Can I see them, please? How many days a week were you working at that time?
5 days a week.
And how many days a week was your daughter going to daycare, this professional daycare?
The professional one, 3 days a week, and my grandmother would watch her 2 days.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about grandma. Well, you have something here that seems to be a full balance with tuition and how many payments you made starting August 6th.
Mm-hmm.
Who was that from?
That's from the school she goes to right now, Sherry's preschool.
And this is August of '96 that you're referring to.
No, see, the week that I discontinued the daycare, she started going to
someplace
Sherry's.
else. Well, that's what this seems to say, August of '96. But I have to have some more specifics from you, Ms. Hayes. And that is, how many days a week?
I want to say it was 3 days, sometimes 4. Her grandmother did take her, I believe it was on Tuesdays.
Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
I had her at least 3 days a week, sometimes 4.
For full days?
For full days. I was at her house at 7 in the morning, and she would pick her up between 5 and 5:30 in the evening.
So you went to pick her up?
I would pick her up, yes.
She volunteered to do this so that way also her son has someone to play with.
No, I
Not
don't believe
for
it. I don't
free,
believe
I'm
that that's
sorry.
true, Miss Normandin.
No, I never said it was for free.
Right. I don't believe that that's true. I don't believe that you watch
She was
another
paid
child.
$70. It wasn't for free.
Listen to me. I don't believe that you watch another child for 10 hours. How old is your daughter?
She's 3.
You don't watch a 3-year-old for 10 hours without being compensated, even for a friend.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She gave a phone number also.
So, what do you expect me to do? You want me to get off the bench and go call her?
Jacqueline Hayes says she never got paid for babysitting Michelle Normandine's daughter. They used to be friends.
You have shown me a receipt that you started the daycare, formal daycare, in August, which pretty much coincides with what the plaintiff says. Therefore, I believe that you did have an arrangement, and your arrangement was to pay her $50, which I think was more than generous, on a 10-hour day, watching a child, a 3-year-old toddler. You paid her $70. Certainly, in June and July alone, we have 4 1/3 weeks. That's almost 10 weeks right there. Part of May, you said, the middle of May, even giving her the benefit of the doubt that you started the end of May. That is your 10 weeks.
But here she was at Brenda's daycare, family daycare in Torrance until June 14th.
Listen to me. I don't believe that for 2 reasons. First of all, it's on a plain piece of paper, and I don't know who wrote it. Somebody who runs a business, a daycare center, a formal daycare center, has a letterhead. They have a letterhead that says this is what they are. They're licensed, right? This is on a plain piece of paper. I could have typed that in my den last night.
She gave a phone number also.
So, what do you expect me to do? Bring a witness. You want me to get off the bench and go call her? If I went and called her, would she tell me that in the entire month of June, your daughter was there 5 days a week? Is that what she would tell me?
She didn't say the whole entire month of June.
Just a second. Maybe that's a good idea. If I went and called this lady, whose telephone number appears here, would she tell me that in the month of June, your daughter was there 5 days a week?
Not 5 days a week. No, my grandmother watched her the remaining other 2 days.
I don't believe that.
Well.
Your grandmother lives clearly in this area. If you had a witness, you bring a witness.
She has hip problems. That's why she continues to not watching her no more. That's why she goes to daycare full time.
Hip problem doesn't prevent you from coming to court. Hip problem may prevent you from running after a 3-year-old toddler, but doesn't prevent you from coming to court. It's just convenient. All right. She owes you $500. She paid you $70. $430. Did I get that right, Bird?
You got it right.
$430?
I was very quick.
$430.
Judgment is for the plaintiff for $430.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was very hard living next door to each other. Our kids wanted to play together. They weren't able to because we weren't speaking. It was very, very difficult. I enjoyed her daughter. She's a wonderful girl. And I really enjoyed the time. But I needed to be paid as well as I was trying to save her money. Friends need to really take a look at each other and just show more respect for the ones that really care.
And now, the next case.
Parties on. Costanza versus Altshuler. Step forward.
Claire Costanza moved in with roommate Darlena Altshuler, and their friendship blew up in a month.
You two gals were former roommates, shared an apartment together. According to your complaint, your former roommate owes you for half a month's rent and half the security on an apartment that you shared together.
Yes.
You say that you gave her a check for your half of the month's rent. So far, is that correct?
Right.
And that she was supposed to pay the entire month's rent. You wrote a check for the entire month's rent. You gave it to the landlord, correct?
Correct.
And then you had a fight and you stopped payment on the check.
Well, it wasn't like a fight. It was when I decided to give her notice that I would be moving out at the end of the month.
But you stopped payment on the check.
After her threats and...
I'll get to that in a second. I'll get to the fluff of this story in a minute. But bottom line, you stopped payment on the check and you kept the money, right?
Right.
Which included the half that she had given you.
Right.
Well, why'd you do that for?
Because I took my part of the security deposit and paid the rest of the bills that she mailed back to my parents' house.
Well, but you can't do that. She gave you the money to pay the rent.
and I had full intentions of paying the rent until she just completely blew up and threatened me, saying that I couldn't step foot anywhere near there. And so that's when I decided to
All right,
stop.
let's go back. How long did you live together?
A month.
All right, what happened? What was your argument about? When did it take place?
Well, I'm not sure what the threats are, but we had a dispute when she told me she was moving out. I guess I was upset that she was moving out, and I said, well, you have to pay the rent. She said she would, and she did for about 2 weeks. And then,
How did she pay the rent for 2
well,
weeks?
she paid the rent and then stopped payment. I found out at the end of the month.
The end of the second month?
Yes, July. My landlady had informed me that the payment was stopped on the check and that I needed to repay the rent, or someone was responsible. And I told her to return the keys, and she would not. I said, you don't live there. I think that you need to give them back. She took about a month.
Was she living in the apartment at the time?
No.
So this was after that all happened?
It was like the same day that she had moved all her stuff out. I called and said, you need to return the keys.
I see. And what day of the month was
July
that?
2nd.
And this was the rent for the month of July?
Yes.
When she wasn't going to be there, but you had already given her your half of the rent for that month?
Yes. On June 30th, I believe it was.
Okay. And how much was the security deposit that you put into the apartment?
It was $500 total, $250 each.
And how much was your part of the rent?
$307.50.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Two people who don't love each other should never room together.
Right.
But that's always a terrible beginning to a live-in situation. That's what keeps me in business.
Claire Costanza moved in with roommate Darlena Altschuler, and their friendship blew up in a month.
Okay, go ahead. I'm listening to you.
I had full intentions of paying the month's rent. I told her on July 1st that I'd be moving out at the end of the month. She freaked out, so I moved all my stuff out that day with still full intentions of paying the month's rent. And then she started to, that's when she asked for the keys. I mailed the keys. They came back to me. Then I mailed them again, certified, so that she would receive them. She, she just said that I couldn't step foot near there. Why would I pay a month's rent if I wasn't allowed to, go anywhere near there?
I'm not even talking about your part of the month's rent. Let's not even talk about that. Let's talk about the money she gave you to pay for July. You kept that.
For my part of the security deposit.
But maybe you weren't going to get back the security deposit if you were breaking your lease without any notice.
It was a month-to-month.
But you're supposed to give notice even on a month-to-month.
That was my mistake. I didn't give notice to the landlord. I gave notice to her, and I know that. That was my mistake.
But you're supposed to give notice, because if you don't give notice, then everybody loses the security deposit. What happened with the security deposit?
It was forfeited for July's rent, and there's still $115 outstanding. I have the lease here that she signed.
Can I take a look at it?
And it says on a month-to-month tenancy there. It's highlighted.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You signed the lease. The lease says you're supposed to give the landlord 30 days notice. You didn't give the landlord 30 days notice because you said you moved out on the 2nd of July.
Right.
Well, even if you gave the landlord 30 days notice, that wouldn't be until the 2nd of August. Right?
Right.
So whether you gave her notice or whether you gave the landlord notice, you're still responsible for that rent. You are responsible for the rent for that month. Did you move into another apartment?
No, I moved back into my parents' house.
Got to read everything really carefully. How old are you?
19.
Okay. So it's a good lesson. You understand that?
Yes, but her side also, when you have someone that's threatening you bodily harm and spitting on you and stuff, and you want to get your money back, you understand that she tried to do it right. She paid the rent even though she was moving out. Granted, because she didn't do it to the landlord, it's wrong.
Stand up here.
Just because she didn't do it to the landlord, we agree that's wrong, but when someone threatens bodily harm and tries to spit on
I
it...
am pregnant.
You were.
And you were not there.
We have every message, word by word, written down.
Are you Miss Altschuler?
O'Brien.
Oh, Miss O'Brien. Two people who don't love each other should never room together.
Right.
Right. I don't know how long these young ladies knew each other before they decided to move in together. I don't know what the circumstances were. But that's always a terrible beginning to a live-in situation. That's what keeps me in business, these roommate situations.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Claire Costanza moved in with roommate Darlena Altschuler, and their friendship blew up in a month.
The plaintiff did, in fact, give her half of the rent, $307.50. The deposit, the security deposit, was forfeited because they didn't give 30 days' notice to the landlord. When did you finally leave the apartment?
My last day would have been August 9th. I went through the walkthrough with her, with my landlady. I moved out, I think, on the 5th. I had another place I was moving into.
So it's because she used it for rent, as opposed to Darlena knew once she threatened her that she's never going to give her a deposit back. So what we should have done...
Who are you?
I'm her friend, and I've been there a lot more than she has. Darlena's mom was not there while any of this was going on, supposedly threatening. And I think Darlena's old enough to take care of herself. And I think, she's pregnant. Okay, if there's any threat, it's verbal, and you can deal with verbal since you've done the same thing back. And I'm sorry, but you weren't there. I was there. I was there.
Oh, so you listened to the messages?
No, I was there. I've heard the message that she left to Claire.
That's funny, because I was there when she
Listen
left.
to me.
Listen to me. She can do it herself.
Your daughter made a poor choice of roommates.
Right.
She didn't get hurt. She safely moved back into the house. You cross it off to a bad experience and you learn from it. That's what you teach children as they're growing up. If you make a bad move, you try to learn from it and not recreate those mistakes as you get older. So the next time she will look further into the background of a roommate. And I'm not saying there was anything wrong with you. I'm just saying if that's the case, you look further before you jump into a situation where you expose yourself to living with somebody that you really don't know. She should learn from this experience. And the experience is going to cost her, I'm so bad in math, $557.50. Judgment is for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I knew what her decision was going to be. I know what I did was wrong.
I think what's fair is fair. I think after knowing someone for about 5 years that I suppose you think they're your friend, but...
Exactly.
And you find out they're violent and go the other way.
Back to...
24-year-old Jennifer Leporati says when she split from 28-year-old Sean Chattel, he kept the camcorder and still owes her for a loan.
Order, all rise. All rise, please.
Your Honor, this is number 174 on the calendar in the matter of Leporati versus Chattel. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
This used to be your boyfriend.
Yes.
You lived together for a while in his parents' home. Is that right?
No, I always resided at my father's house, but I did spend time at his mother's.
Did you ever sleep there?
Yes.
More than once a week?
Yes.
All right. According to your complaint, he owes you $350. $250 that you gave him to pay back some money for his daughter's school,
His son,
daycare,
yes.
or his son's school. How old is this child?
4.5.
Were you married to his mother?
Yes, I was for 4 years.
And when were you divorced?
About 3.5 years ago.
So how old is the child?
4.5. He was 1.
He was 1 when you separated. And in addition to the $250 that you lent him for the child's daycare, you had purchased a camcorder together for $200. When you split up, he kept the camcorder.
Correct.
Your defense to this action, sir, is?
I have the camcorder, yes.
Okay. You have the camcorder and you
I've
paid?
always had possession of it, yes.
And she paid?
We went in on it together as like everything that we do together. We just we buy something, we owned it, and it just surprised me that she asked for the $100 back. So
Because he decided since he broke up, it was his house. It became his possession, no longer mine.
Okay, so let's take care of this $100 camcorder first. You weren't married?
No.
So you each put in half of the camcorder?
Correct.
Correct.
Was $200. You kept the camcorder.
Yep.
Is that fair?
I think it's fair.
Tell me why.
Because, for one, it was my idea to buy it. It was my partner that I bought it from, and she's, never even used it, and it needed work, so I had to pay for the work to be done on it.
When did it need work?
We didn't even use it, but maybe a couple of weeks, and then I needed to buy a new battery for it. The charger went bad, so, it wasn't even working. I paid for all that.
But he's forgetting to let you know that when we bought the camcorder, I put up the $200 up front, and then he paid me back the $100 for it.
Just a second. You say here in your answer to her complaint that the friend that you bought this camera from was a really good friend, and he was selling you this great camcorder for a rock-bottom price.
Correct.
Well, so why don't you think that you owe her half, which is the $100 that she put in? Otherwise, it seems very inequitable to me, sir, that you got the camera and she's got nothing.
Okay, I guess I look at it like if we were to have, we have other possessions together. Say she bought me a skateboard. Am I supposed to give her half the skateboard money back because she bought it for a gift?
This is not a gift, sir. I mean, don't you
Everything
understand the
we
difference?
bought together was ours.
This is not a gift. There's a difference between a gift and something you went into together. She put up the $200. You gave her $100 back. That means you bought this as a joint item. Assuming that you were married, it would be considered community property.
Correct.
Court would order it to be sold. You'd get 100. You'd get 100, or one of you would get the camera, and the other one would have to pay the other for half of its value. Do you understand?
Yes.
There's a difference between that and buying you a skateboard, sir, because you can only fit one behind on a skateboard, the last I looked. Right?
Sure.
All right, so $100, Miss Laporte, you have. Now, what about this $250?
Well, when we were going out, I used to front Sean money for various bills, like his son's daycare, etc.
Why did you do that?
Because I loved him, and he always was responsible and always paid me back on time. I never had a problem with it until the end. And a couple weeks before we broke up, I lent him $250. Some of it was for daycare, and then others was to get him by until his checks came in from his clients. So I gave him the money, and then that following week we broke up, and he didn't pay me back on a couple of occasions. We met, we talked, he said that he would meet me to pay me back, and he never did. One time he told me he'd meet me at a restaurant. I waited for him for an hour. He never showed up. I called him the next day. He said he didn't feel he had to chase me around town to pay me back the money.
Does any of that sound familiar to you?
No, I mean, absolutely not.
Your Honor, I have...
Shut up!
It just
No,
really...
don't look at your feet. Look at my eyes.
Okay.
Does any of what she said about making appointments to meet her, to pay her back...
Yes.
Shh. Let me finish. Meeting her to pay her back the money. None of that sounds familiar to you?
Meet her to talk about the issue that she thinks that I owe her the money when I paid her back. That's what we were supposed to meet for. I felt it was irrelevant to even meet with her, so I didn't. And she didn't have a pager or a phone, so I couldn't call her, so I didn't show up.
I had a cellular phone on me that day.
Just a second.
Okay.
Let me understand something. Are you telling me, sir, that you behaved in an unchivalrous manner by making an appointment to meet her to discuss something and then decided that you didn't feel as if you had anything to discuss, and then you didn't show up?
Said, yes.
And then you didn't show up?
Is
that right? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I did.
Good. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff. $350. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out. We'll see. Out the back door to your right.
I'm happy he got what he deserves. He gets away with everything, and I didn't want him to get away with it.
I don't get away with it. What are you talking about? Explain yourself.
Mommy bills you out of
Oh,
his, grandma
give me a
bills you out
break.
of his.
Give me a
Okay.
break.
You know it's true. I know it's true.
And now the next case.
Parties on Ambrose versus Moronian. Step forward, please.
27-year-old actress Melinda Joyce Ambrose says hairdresser Anita Moronian made her hair turn green. Anita says somebody else botched the job.
Miss Ambrose, you are dissatisfied with the defendant's services that she performed for you as a hairdresser.
Yes.
And not only, according to your complaint, do you want to be compensated by having her return the money that was paid, but you also want her to pay for, let's see, $600 for what it cost you to repair your hair, another $1,000 or so for you to take new headshots because you're an actress.
Yes.
This better be good. Go.
Okay.
I have a picture of what my hair, I've been growing out my hair for 2 years. I went to expensive salons to have them take care of my hair. Anita is a relatively expensive, she works at a relatively expensive salon. I had been seeing her for at least 7 months. I have a picture of what my hair looked like before she went and permed it. It's bleached hair. And I had put some temporary color in my hair.
Just a second, let's stop. You sort of glossed over that. So you put some color in your hair.
Yes.
And then when did you call her after you had put the color in your hair?
The morning after, and I told them what, I told her boss, and then I told her
You
exactly
spoke to her.
what I put in my hair.
Yes.
Yes.
And she said what?
That it was still safe to perm it and color correct it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You want to tell me how horrible your wife looked?
Her hair after coming back from the salon was very bad. It was very frizzy, it was very damaged, it was orange and green.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melinda Joyce Ambrose says hairdresser Anita Moranyan cut her hair too short, permed it, and turned it green. Anita says she warned her not to color her hair.
Just a sec. Color corrected, which means you put something in your hair.
That was too dark. It was darker than I liked it.
So then you made an appointment, and when did you go in?
It was that morning.
And what happened when you got there that morning?
I checked with her again and again and again, and I said, I used Clairol. It's a version #1. This is in my hair now. She obviously saw the color difference because she had been my sole hairdresser for 7 months. I said, are you sure it's safe to perm on this hair?
Miss Ambrose, why did you take it upon yourself to do a home hair color on yourself if you had been going to very expensive salons for months and months?
My hair turned out darker than I wanted it to, and so I thought it wouldn't be a problem for her to put basic rinse through my hair to...
In a second.
Okay. A basic rinse through to soften the color and to perm it. It's a non-ammonia, non-peroxide solution, and I told her exactly what it was, and I asked if it could be done. I was very clear about that. I mean, I asked her over and over so much that I felt paranoid, and she assured me that it was fine. She assured me that it was fine to do a color and a perm that day.
Okay, so what did you do?
I went in, got the perm done. It turned out stringy and strawy and awful. Most of the color washed out. Some of it basically baked in would be the right words. It stuck and wouldn't come out, and that turned kind of orange. There were parts that turned green. After Anita saw that, Anita looked at my hair. She told me not to see anyone for 2 days because it was really damaged. She couldn't color my hair that day because it was too damaged, even though she had agreed to at the beginning of that service. And basically let me go. She said not to touch it for 2 days and then to use a semi-permanent color, which is exactly what I did.
Just a second. She told you to do another self-help?
No, she said she wanted to put the semi-permanent color in.
Okay, so she told you to leave with the perm that you said was not good and not do anything for 2 days, and then you should come back to the salon for whatever corrective measures with regard to color she would do.
Yes.
And then what did you do?
And I left out a detail, is that she cut off most of the green and the orange, making my hair basically a couple inches shorter than it is right now.
Well, you wouldn't want green and orange in your hair. So then she told you to come back in 2 days. What did you do?
In 2 days, I went to someone else who was not her because I would never go back to somebody who did that to my hair again.
Miss Ambrose, you're talking as if this lady did what she did to you on purpose. You don't believe that she did this to you on purpose.
She told me,
hey,
Your Honor.
You don't believe she did this to you on purpose.
Not on purpose, out of seeking money and out of negligence, yes.
Okay, now I'll hear you.
First of all, she's calling, I mean, I'm not a better actress than she is. She's acting, but I don't know how to act. So she called the salon around 2 o'clock in the morning, left a message. I mean, this is not a normal hours.
2 o'clock in the morning? This is before you worked
brought
on her?
me in my day
Listen
off
to me.
do
Listen
her
to me.
hair.
Stop talking. Listen to me.
Right.
Well, I want to know about when you started to do work on her.
Not
with this perm.
She called that morning. It's my day off. She begged them to call me and have me to go and do her hair. In my day off, I went to do her hair. Tried to do a favor to her, and she's telling me negligently
Just
I
a
burned her
second.
hair.
What happened when you got to the salon?
She came in the salon. I came in my day off. I did her hair, what I had to do.
What
Her
did you
hair
do?
I permed her hair.
What kind of a discussion did you have before you permed her hair?
I mentioned to her, I said, every time you have a chemical process, anything happens, your ends might little damage. And it's very possible with the perms. It's always possible.
Did you tell her that?
Yes, I did.
She just said ends might have a little damage. That's like not 3 inches.
Your Honor, can I continue?
Yes, continue.
So I did her perm, but when she came, she had already green hair on her hair.
Just a
Every
second.
time you have a perm, your hair shrinks because it's curly.
Of course, that's, you don't have to be a
I
physicist to
trimmed
figure
the
that out.
ends. I didn't chop her, I didn't shorten it 3 inches. It's already, when you perm the hair, it's by himself, it shrinks.
So when you cut off the ends?
I cut off the ends.
And you told her to come
and
back
I told her, I said, I cannot color your hair because she wanted me to color it. I said, come back in 2 days because a perm needs to oxidize the neutralizer has to oxidize on the hair too, between 24 to 36 hours. So I told her when she come back, I can put semi-permanent color. Since that day, I never seen her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I knew from the first day I met you, you are a weirdo. There's something wrong about you.
Thank you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Actress Melinda Joyce Ambrose says that she could not go on auditions after hairdresser Anita Moranyan ruined her hair. Anita says she's not the one who ruined it.
In order for me to say to you, I'm comfortable with any of your allegations, you had been using this lady for 7 months. You put your own process on your hair, which you know if you're a smart lady, and you rely on your looks to make a living that you shouldn't have done. Clearly, because you didn't like the result of what you did, you called her. She came into work on her day off to do your hair, to perm it, right?
Apparently, yes.
Apparently, yes. So I assume that when you called, you were hysterical, that your hair was too dark, and that somebody could please come in and do your hair.
I doubt I was hysterical.
My problem is, you'd been using this lady for color.
Yes.
You started a process that you hadn't used before. You were going to get a perm. A perm was going to change your appearance because it was going to make your hair curly instead of glorious and straight.
Yes.
All right, so that you were going to do anyway, which would have required, if I read your complaint correctly, additional headshots, because then if you had curly hair, it's different from straight hair. It's also shorter hair.
That's why I only asked for 2, because in the year that it's going to take me to grow my hair out back to there, I'm assuming 1 headshot session would have had to have happened anyways. But I lost all the headshots that I had. I can't use them now. I can't ever use them again. And I'm going to have more than that done
So
in
then
this
you
next year.
you learn 2 things. A, you should let a professional colorist do your hair if you rely on something. B, if you decide to have 3 processes on your hair, you risk your hair turning orange and green.
Your Honor, can I ask you to please understand
Sure.
one thing?
Sure.
And also, I'd like you to hear from my husband, if that would be possible.
What does he want to tell me?
How horrible it looked right after she did it, because he saw it.
Oh, sure, I'll hear you. I'll hear you. Step up, sir. Your name?
Nick Ambrose.
You want to tell me how horrible your wife looked?
Her hair, after coming back from the salon, was very bad. It was very frizzy. It was very damaged. It was orange and green. And I know how careful she is about her hair, and how she was very, very, very insistent that she told what was on the box of the actual label of the box of the dye she put on the day before, so that the person who was doing it would know exactly what was there and would be able to judge whether they could do a safe process or not.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a software engineer.
Let me ask you this question, sir. If somebody has a computer and they take their computer and they try, and doesn't seem to be working right, and they have a guarantee that goes with the computer, and they decide, well, they think that they could fix this computer, so they take a toothbrush and a toilet plunger. Say, I can fix this computer. I'm going to stick in the toilet plunger. I'm going to roto-root this computer, right? And then the computer doesn't work, and they bring it to you, and they say, hey, I got a guarantee here. The computer doesn't work. And you say, listen, there's an intervening thing here. There's an intervening thing here. You took this toothbrush, you took this toilet plunger, you try to fix the computer yourself. I don't understand why a woman who has been going to what she says to me is an expensive salon for 7 months, one night gets a bee in her bonnet that she wants to change her hair color, goes down to a drugstore and buys a box of something for $2.98 and puts it in her hair, or for $4.95 and puts it in her hair. And then she's so hysterical because of the way she looks that she can't even wait for this lady to come in on her regular day. She's got to come in the very next day and not say to her, listen, could you just fix the color for me, throw a rinse in, I just want to get it back, but comes in and says, I want my hair permed.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You had here a dissatisfied customer.
Right.
Your dissatisfied customer paid you $125 for a process that she was dissatisfied with. Let me tell you what good business is. Good business is saying to a dissatisfied customer, listen, I'm sorry that you were dissatisfied. You've been my customer for 7 months. You've paid me for 7 months. You're dissatisfied. I don't think I did anything wrong, but you're dissatisfied with the service. I don't want you to be dissatisfied. I'm going to give you back your $125. That's what you originally called for, correct? You said you called because you wanted your money back.
Yeah.
And
she wanted more.
Hey! Some people are so stupid, they just don't understand. You said you wanted your money back.
Yes.
And if they had given you your money back, this matter would have been closed.
If it had happened right away, yes.
Good. Now it's right away.
It's not right away.
It's right away to me, madam. I'm giving you your money back, $125. It's more than I think that you deserve. I think that you contributed in part to having your hair damaged. You can't do one process, another process, a perm, and then a color to your hair and expect
Your
your
Honor,
hair
didn't
and
she have
expect
a life-
your hair to be as pristine as it is in this picture.
Your Honor, didn't she have a responsibility to tell me that before she did the process?
I believe that she told you that you were going to have damage
No,
to your hair. The fact that you didn't want to hear it is your problem. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $125, period. End of case.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I was working just fine. I had an agent, and they all thought my hair was fine. Anita didn't make me beautiful, and Anita did do nice corrective color, and that was great, and that's why I trusted
What's
her
that
with the
mean?
pearls. It means you made my hair what
sure.
I wanted.
Thank you very much. That's what I
Nice,
wanted to
beautiful.
hear it. That's
For
all
7
what I
months
wanted
you
to
did,
hear.
and that's what it was in my
And I
complaint.
knew from the first day I met you, you are a weirdo. There's something wrong about you.
Thank you. Well, I'm really glad I referred people to your
Sure.
salon.
Tracy says when her boyfriend, 23-year-old Steve Jackson, caught her at her ex-boyfriend's house, he destroyed her property. Now she's taking him to court to recover the damages.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Sir.
Judge, this is number 191 on the calendar in the matter of Tracy versus Jackson. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Miss Tracy, your complaint reads like a short novel, but let me see if I understand it. This used to be your boyfriend.
Yes.
And then you broke up. Is that right?
Yes.
When you broke up with this gentleman, your name is Steve?
Yes, that's right.
You became involved with someone by the name of?
Greg Schwartz.
Greg. Then you moved in with Greg and that didn't work out, correct?
Correct.
Then you got back together with?
Steve.
Steve. Mm-hmm. And moved some of your furniture into his apartment.
Correct.
Pick it up from there.
I moved my furniture into his house because I needed a place to store it. Steve offered his house to store it with no problem. So I...
Well, just a second. You not only moved your furniture into the house, am I correct that you moved yourself into the house?
No, I did not.
Just your furniture?
Correct.
So you didn't stay at his house at all?
I did stay at his house, but not permanently. I used his house for storage of my furniture. I lived with my grandparents at their home.
Okay. So you weren't dating him at that point when you moved your furniture back into the house?
Yes, I did. Yes, we were.
So you were. You had renewed your relationship with him?
Correct.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I moved my things into his house because he said it was okay. It was only a temporary situation until I decided to move back out again and take my things. And after spending a few months with him,
we both realized that our relationship wasn't working out, and I broke it off with him. He became upset and angry and destroyed my furniture and belongings.
What furniture did he destroy, Tracy?
I have estimates and pictures.
Just tell me.
My couches, my bed, my VCR. I brought my VCR here for you to see. My comforter, my lamps. There's a garage door involved here, but that's later. My dining room table and my patio furniture. And
okay, did you get any of your things back?
Yes, I recovered damaged property as well as what wasn't damaged.
What wasn't damaged?
My desk, and I would have to say that's about it.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes.
Now, I read your answer.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct, sir, that you do not deny destroying this furniture?
That's correct.
Okay, let's start with why you destroyed it.
Okay, the first thing why is because we didn't, she did not call it off. What actually happened was I found out that she was doing something behind my back with the same gentleman that we moved the furniture out of his house.
So you found out, according to you, that the plaintiff, Miss Tracy, was seeing Mr. Schwartz again.
That's right.
And that made you?
Upset, angry. That happened in June of '97. It was found out on June 20th. Confronted her about it. She lied time and time again, even though I knew that I saw her car at his house. I left a note on her car. I'm sure she didn't bring that with her today.
So you found her car in front of his house. What were you doing in front of his house?
Driving by to work.
You didn't have to go out of your way in order to do
not
that?
at all.
Excuse me, Your Honor, I have to...
Just a second. I'll get back to you. So you left a note on her car?
Right.
Saying that caught you, something like that?
Basically.
All right. But that wasn't enough. Then you got very angry.
No, actually after that, I confronted her about it. After a couple days of lying to me, she finally admitted it. And then we were still talking with each other about it. I can't really say if we were together or not. And about a month after that, I was just upset one night and got sick of seeing the stuff that she gave me at my house. Had the dining room table in my dining area and got upset and just didn't want it anymore. And that's why I destroyed it. I did not want to see it anymore. I didn't want it in my house anymore. I didn't want to have anything to do with her anymore.
Tell me how you destroyed it.
Some of the chairs that were broken were kind of already broken because they were, like, if you step on the chair or if you rest your foot on one of the wooden rests.
I mean, did you pick up the furniture and fling it and hit it? All right, so you destroyed it.
Yeah.
Wasn't just the dining room table and
It was
chairs.
a dining room table and chairs, a couch.
How did you destroy the couch?
Threw it off my balcony. Because it was up in my bedroom, because she gave me some of the furniture.
We'll get to the giving because that's your defense to this action. You say she gave you all this furniture.
Right.
And therefore it was yours to destroy. Tell me how she gave you the furniture, Mr. Jackson.
In March, the middle of March of this year, '97, we were together. She came over to my house one day, found out that her ex-boyfriend was cheating on her.
This same Mr. Schwartz.
Found out he was cheating on her, got really mad, decided to go to his condo where she had her furniture, and I offered to help move the stuff out along with two of my roommates, who we all have trucks, so we decided to go over there. And one day we moved all the stuff out of the garage, out of the townhouse. And I asked her, where do you want to put this? She said, well, I don't even want this stuff. Why don't you want it? It reminds me of him. And I go, well, if you don't want it, then, you know, what are you going to do with it? She said, do you want to take it? I go, I don't want all this stuff. Had couches, a table, lamp, and some personal items, kitchenware and a mattress, Christmas ornaments. I go, I don't want all this stuff. But the stuff that I can use, fine, I'll take. Dining room table, a couple couches, a lamp, and that's it. Everything else went in my garage.
What about the VCR over there that's got a big dent in it?
That was not for me. I don't know how she can justify me doing that. She had the VCR. She had it in my house, but I did not touch her VCR.
You mean when you were destroying all the other stuff, you didn't just happen one of the couches or the dining room table and chairs or something didn't plop itself on that VCR?
I didn't walk into the closet and look for a VCR just to destroy it. She didn't have her stuff out in my house. She
I
had
understand that. Somebody destroyed that.
I don't know who.
You were in a rage. Is that a fair statement,
That could be
sir?
a good statement, yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Steve couldn't handle the fact that I didn't want to be with him anymore. And he was drunk. But, I mean, it's apparent that he has a drinking problem.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve Jackson admits he flew into a rage when he found out his girlfriend, Kathy Tracy, was spending time with her ex-boyfriend. But he says the property he destroyed belonged to him, and Tracy has no grounds for this lawsuit.
Mr. Jackson, I find it difficult. She says that she just stored her stuff at your house while she was looking for another place. I don't think that you develop a sentimental attachment for furniture that reminds you of another boyfriend. That doesn't make sense. Common sense suggests to me that a couch is a couch, and a dining room table and chairs is a dining room table and chairs. And just because an old boyfriend ate off of it or sat on it doesn't mean that you don't want to look at it anymore, sir. Because if she was dating you again, she was still going to look at the furniture, right? If it was in your house. And she was going to be looking at the same furniture that Schwartz sat on and ate off of. So why would she say, I don't want to look at it anymore, and then put it in a place where she have to look at it every single day?
She said she didn't want it anymore.
You mean
said,
she didn't want to possess it anymore? But
I'm just telling you what she said. When we moved it into my house, she said, I do not want this stuff.
Your Honor.
I have
That sounds
witnesses.
like nonsense. Yeah. Do I have any witnesses here?
Yes.
There are a
we
lot
do.
of people on either side, but important witnesses. I don't want any nonsense witnesses because it's a busy day.
Can I?
Yeah?
Yes. Good.
Step up here. State your name.
My name's Chris.
Chris, you have a last name.
Chris Delacroce.
Okay.
I helped him move out the furniture out of Schwartz's house.
Yes.
Okay. It was my understanding that she didn't want it because it reminded her
I don't want to know what
of
your
him.
understanding was. Your understanding is relevant to you. It's not particularly relevant to me. I want to know what you saw and heard.
I saw her furniture move into our house.
And what did you hear her say, if anything? Right here. Nothing.
Nothing right to me. No.
Good. Did you hear her say? Did you hear her say anything to anyone else?
No.
Good. Sit. You have any other important witnesses for me to hear, Steve?
No.
Perfect. Do you have any witnesses you wish to me to hear? Important ones.
Yes, I do. I have Steve's former roommate who lived in the house with him before my furniture was moved in there, while it was moved in there, and after it was destroyed, and I took what was remaining of it.
Step up here. State your name, please.
Vanessa Williams.
Miss Williams, did you ever have a conversation with Mr. Jackson about the furniture? Means a yes or a no?
Yes, I did.
When did you have that conversation about the furniture?
The night after it happened.
The night after it was destroyed?
And
No. Was that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay. And what did he say to you?
He said that he asked me that he said that he felt bad that he did this, and he asked me if he should reimburse her for this. And I told him whatever he wants to do. I didn't really want to get involved at the time.
Were you his girlfriend at the time?
No.
You just was staying there with him?
Platonic roommate.
I rented a room from him.
So he asked you whether he should reimburse her.
Right.
Mr. Jackson, a couple of other questions I have for you. Why don't you sit down, Ms. Williams? Thank you. Did you have any of your own stuff in the apartment?
My house?
Yeah, in your house.
Yes, I did.
To destroy your own stuff?
No.
So you had selective rage. Right?
That's correct.
Your selective rage, Mr. Jackson, is going to cost you. Can I have a list of items that
yes, there's
that were
pictures,
destroyed?
estimates.
Thank you. Good.
And, Your Honor, I also wanted to state when I filed this complaint, I made it for $5,000, but I didn't exactly total it up. It doesn't quite come up to $5,000, and I put the price difference that I came up with.
Well, what is it?
$3,000 $939.52, I believe.
Is that what all of these things cost you?
Actually, I took estimates only because the places where I bought this furniture either are not in business anymore, so I got the closest estimate to my furniture that I had.
Well, was this almost $4,000 more expensive or less expensive than what you actually paid for the furniture?
That is about the approximate price range of
Not
furniture.
price range. I want to know what you actually paid for the furniture.
To be exact?
Yeah, to be exact.
About
Because I have the bills here.
$3,200, but there is something else included into that that I did not buy. That's the garage door that he broke.
Well, you didn't have a garage.
Where I was staying the night that he destroyed my
You
furniture.
mean at Schwartz's house?
Correct.
Let Schwartz sue him, unless you paid Schwartz for the garage door.
Well, actually, I'm going to have to pay for it.
No, you won't. You don't have to pay for it because he broke it. Let Schwartz sue him. How much was the garage door?
$620.
Okay, so we're down to $3,200. You just bought this furniture, looks like.
Well, it's on hold.
What do you mean it's on hold?
It's an estimate. They wouldn't.
Miss Tracy.
Yes?
How old was the furniture that was there?
Less than 2 years old, and it was brand new. I kept it in perfect condition. That furniture was, I mean, I cherished that. And I took very good care. It was immaculate. It was brand new. There was nothing wrong with anything.
All right, now let me take a look at this furniture, what it looks like. There are 2 sofas. Did you throw both sofas out?
No.
Where's the other
There was
one?
nothing wrong with the other sofa. She moved it out later on. There's nothing wrong with it.
Your Honor,
Was
he
there anything wrong with
urinated on it. He slashed it up, but he didn't throw it over his balcony because it was too big.
No, that is absolutely not true.
Let's not talk about slashing it. Did you do anything else to it?
No, that is not true. I did not urinate on her couch.
Well, that's
Did
what
you
it-
let anybody else do it?
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He does not have any ambition in life except to sit on the couch and drink beer and watch the football game.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathy Tracy is in court with her ex-boyfriend, Steve Jackson, because she claims he destroyed her property in a jealous rage.
Mr. Jackson, you slash up her mattress?
No.
No?
I did not.
It's all slashed.
I didn't slash her mattress. What I did was destroy the dining room table, the chairs,
You
the
didn't-
lamp, and the couch.
That is not true.
Well, who destroyed this?
I don't know. She's had the furniture ever since July, the middle of July.
Well,
and
I
then
thought-
1 month later, she comes in and...
Miss Tracy?
Yes.
When did you get the mattress back?
I got the mattress back when I moved all the furniture. The night was July 17th, is when he destroyed all of my furniture at approximately 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right, okay.
I picked up my furniture that day, that afternoon. He let me come and recover the damaged
Are you
property.
telling me that you took out this damaged mattress?
Yes.
Why did you take out the damaged mattress?
To use it as evidence, because I was obviously going to take him to court over this.
Who helped move out the furniture?
I had 2 movers helping me.
Show this to him, please. Did you... Mr. Jackson, I want you to look at that very carefully, sir.
No, I did not do that. That's not my place. She's had the mattresses ever since the middle of July and not touched that. Now I can turn to the pictures of the couch and the table. Can I look through this?
The couch isn't in there.
I see a picture of a garage door opener,
I'm not interested in the
a
garage door
mattress.
opener. That's
well, I
another
don't
lawsuit.
see how she can justify $3,200.
Just a second. I asked you about the mattress. Did you do that to the mattress?
No, I didn't. I did not touch her mattress.
Keeps getting better.
Who are you?
I'm Danielle Crockett.
How do you know her?
I've been her best friend for about 4 years.
Best friend, did you see the furniture when it came back to her house
No,
after she moved it out? Did you? Who are you?
I'm Nicole Halterman. Not that day. Actually, I had gone to Steve's house that night because I'm friends with his roommate, Vanessa. And I saw the furniture damaged.
Did
in
you
his
see the
house.
mattress?
Not the mattress, but everything else.
She'd already taken the mattress out of the house.
She took the mattress and the couches, but she left the table because it was in too many pieces to take. The patio furniture was in too many pieces to take, and the lamps. I saw those in his backyard. Looked like they had been thrown over the balcony.
Okay, but the mattress she had taken, she didn't take any of the property that was destroyed, is that right?
Well, the table was in, like, toothpicks.
Just answer my question. Okay. She didn't take any of the property that was destroyed. She left all the badly damaged property there. Is that what you're saying to me?
She took, like, the VCR and the mattresses, all the other stuff that was destroyed.
Just a second. Did you see her take the mattress out?
No, because I was at work when she did that.
So you don't know whether the mattress was destroyed or not?
Well, Steve had admitted to me that he had destroyed it.
Oh, did he?
Yes, he did.
What did he say?
That night when I was at his house, he said that he felt really bad that he did it.
Did what?
Destroyed the couches, the mattresses, the table.
He said the mattresses?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes. Well, he mentioned the mattresses, the table. He mentioned everything.
Okay. Good.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Jackson, when you have a fit of temper, you have to pay. Understand? I assume that that's the comforter. Is that what that's doing here?
Yes. Would you like to see it?
All right. I just assumed that that's what it
Your
was.
Honor.
Not part of the new decor in the courtroom. When you have a fit of temper, you have to pay. And your story is a lot of who shot John with regard to her giving you the furniture that she gave you because she didn't want to look at it anymore because it had an emotional attachment to Mr. Schwartz. So it's going to cost you. It's not going to cost you in this lawsuit the garage door, because I don't want to hear about that. If you damaged Mr. Schwartz's garage door, he'll take that up with you at some other time. Ms. Tracy, I am awarding you $3,000 to replace the furniture. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your
Parties
Honor.
are excused. You may step out. I'll back go to you, ladies.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He's an alcoholic. He's mentally and physically abusive. He does not have any ambition in life except to sit on the couch and drink beer and watch the football game. And it wasn't going anywhere. I have ambitions and goals, and we just don't meet. I am glad that I will never have to see him again. Thank you.
Dairy farmer Bird Miller wants 31-year-old Jason Hager to pay the damage caused to his pickup truck after clubbing it. Jason claims it was self-defense.
Order. All rise.
Judge number 204 on the calendar in the matter of Miller versus Hager. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Shame on you both. Always strikes me is when two adult men get into a car and get into a contest and let their testosterone take off and rule their heads, there's trouble, especially when there's a child in the car, like this gorgeous little blonde thing. Mr. Miller, you're suing Mr. Hager because you say that after some sort of a dispute in your car, he was driving his, you yours, he attacked your car with a club.
Yes.
And caused almost $400 worth of damage to the car. Tell me how it started, sir.
I was making a turn off of Valley View Street. I was going south. There's a frontal road there beside of it. Hager was coming, going south also on it. He run the stop sign. And as a result of it, I almost hit him. If I hadn't stopped, I would have hit him. I blew my horn. He raised his finger at me, and we proceeded down the frontal road.
So you're both now going in the same direction?
We're both going in the same direction.
And this is your grandchild?
Yes.
She was in the car with you?
Yes.
Where was she sitting, front or back?
Well, it was a pickup, so she's in the front.
Right next to you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We came to an alley that runs down behind a shopping mall, and we proceeded down it, and we got to the end of the stores.
Which car was first and which car was second?
He was following me.
Just a second. His car was first, your car was second.
Yes.
Were you following him, sir?
Yes.
Why?
I was behind him. I mean,
were you following?
I'm going in that direction.
He was chasing me.
Shh, just a second. I'm going to get to you in a second, sir. You said you got to an alley.
Well, it's an alley, and it's also behind the store, but it's a parking lot also.
Well, were you going into that parking lot, sir?
No, I wasn't going into the parking lot.
So you were actually not behind him. You were following him.
Okay, I was following him.
Now, why were you following him?
So I could get his tag number.
Okay. And then what happened?
As we got to the end of the stores, there's also another small frontal road that leads to the front of the stores. He partially made the turn and stopped, jumped out, grabbed his club, and ran at me while I'm stopped. I had, in the meantime, stopped. He ran about 30 feet towards my truck, ran up to the side of me, took a swing at me. I pulled my truck forward, and he hit the back of my cab.
Can I see the damage to your car?
If you'll notice, Your Honor, the damage is at an angle as if you were swinging something, and you'll see that it's also right in line with me in the truck. So if I hadn't pulled forward, he would have hit me in the truck.
This has an open top, sir?
No, it's you looking at. May I get it to you? Oh, come on, surely. I take better pictures than that.
I got it. I got it now. Oh, I thought it was a convertible truck. I hadn't seen one of those. All right. Now I got it. All right, Mr. Hager, let's hear you, sir.
Well, what he said is correct as far as he was following me. I was very close to my home. I didn't want him, I wasn't going to go home knowing he was following me. I became fearful, wasn't sure what I should do. So yeah, I stopped, and in an attempt to defend myself, knowing that not knowing what he's going to do, I did take my club. He sees me stop. He's coming at me. He puts his head out the window of his truck and says, "I'm going to run you over." That's when he started to come at me with the truck. I jump out of the way, and he backs up a little bit and comes at me again. The second time is when he came close enough to me that I could swing and hit the truck.
All right, so I have a few questions for you, Mr. Hager. You live in that area, sir?
Yes. I was less than a block away from my home.
And how long have you lived there?
About 18 months.
So you know where the local police precinct is?
Actually, I found it after this.
You mean you didn't know before?
No. Well, it's a very large city. I wasn't sure where to go.
I don't believe you, sir. You see, I see this. You see, I see this around here.
Well,
and I'm like a truth machine. So don't tell me that you didn't know where to find a policeman.
I went to. Well, no. That would have been the alternative. Was drive around.
That's an alternative rather than getting out of your car with a club.
Right.
Because it doesn't seem to me to be logical, sir, that if you're in fear of your life, you are defending yourself against a 2-ton truck with a 2-pound club.
Right.
You see, that doesn't make sense. To me, what makes sense is if you're in fear, you stay in your car. What kind of a car were you driving?
A Camaro.
So you stay in your Camaro and you drive around until you see a police car, if you don't know where the local police precinct is.
Right.
Right.
But I thought of that after, but in the fear, I wasn't thinking that logically.
Listen to me, Mr. Hager. Why were you in fear, sir? You were in your car, windows closed, right? Windows closed.
No.
You could have closed the windows, Mr. Hager, right? You do have electric windows in your Camaro?
Yes.
So you press a button, you close the window, and you keep driving, and you say to yourself, I got some nut here behind me. I'm not going to get out of this car. I'm going to stay in my car. But you get out of your car. Where was the club?
On the passenger seat.
You pick up the club, and you get out of your car. That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Hager.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Wonder how afraid he was when he stuck his finger up. Could we ask him that question?
And later today,
Make me look like a liar. Make me look bad when you know you was stripping and you know you was working, Nicole. Don't stand there and lie.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bird Miller says Jason Hager's gesture led to violence, smashing Bird's pickup.
You pick up the club and you get out of your car. That doesn't make sense to me, Mr. Hager. It doesn't, it's illogical, sir.
To drive around looking for the police, I needed to, at some point, decide I'm going to stop and defend myself. That was it.
Defend yourself against what, sir?
This gentleman.
He's in his car.
I don't know that he's going to threaten to run me over. I think he's going to get out.
How can he run you over in your Camaro, sir? Sitting in your car, how can he run you over, Mr. Hager?
He can't.
Right. Sitting in your car, he can't run you over. Only when you're outside of your car, standing there armed with a weapon, can he run you over. Your mistake was getting out of the car. And then you hit his truck. So you were in a combat posture with a weapon. I mean, I'm not suggesting that what this man did was correct. I think, Mr. Miller, to be quite honest with you, sir, you're old enough to use your brains, and if this guy ran a stop sign, as you say, of course, you didn't run the stop sign. Is that correct?
Correct.
I knew that. I knew that's what you would say. But you have a very precious cargo. Not you, her. And so if you have a very precious cargo, and if you were fortunate enough, and God was watching you, and you didn't have an accident at that stop sign, you take a deep breath, and you say, phew, finished. I'm grateful that there was no accident, and you keep going. If you can get his license, that's fine. But to follow him into an alley is not swift.
It's really not an alley, Your Honor. I understand what you're saying, but
you understand what I'm saying.
I don't mean it's a, you know.
I understand, but you got hot.
Oh, absolutely.
So you
I'm not denying it at all.
Yeah, well, you want to get hot with you alone in the car. That's one thing, but you don't get hot when you have a baby in the car, especially a baby that looks like that.
Could I add something to this?
Sure, sir.
Okay. He said I almost hit him there at the stop sign. If you look at the pictures, you will see there's a medium between Valley View and where he would have been sitting. So, in other words, I would have had to jump across the medium in order to hit him.
Interesting, not terribly relevant, because we're not talking about what happened at the stop sign. What we're talking about was Mr. Hager's. You both exercised poor judgment on that day, in my view. But Mr. Hager's judgment is going to cost him the amount that you claim you spent or will spend to fix your car, and I assume you have a bill for that.
Your Honor, I have a bill for the damage. I don't have a bill for a rental car. It'll take 3 days to fix the truck, which is $25 a day.
Well, Mr. Miller, for your bad judgment, it's going to cost you to rent your car.
All right.
For his bad judgment, it's going to cost him to fix your car. And the grand total here is $279.80 to fix your car. Mr. Hager, it was a very dumb thing that you did, because he may not have been the kind of person that he is, and he may have, in fact, run you over. And your
sure of that.
And your 2-pound club wasn't going to help you. So,
well, you know, my question is, if he cares enough about this truck to get it fixed, why is he chasing people and threatening them with it?
Mr. Hager, he wasn't smart to try to chase you to get your plate number, and I assume that that's what he was trying to do. He did not get out of his cab. You got out of your car. Dumb. Stupid. And not only did you get out of your car, you got out of your car with a weapon. So it's going to cost you. The amount it's going to cost you is the amount that it's going to cost to fix his car. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you, Joe.
Out the back door to your right, please.
Come on.
And now the next case.
Party's on Cruz. Ambrosini versus Hernandez. Step forward, please.
16-year-old Nicole Ambrosini and her 20-year-old boyfriend, Moses Cruz, claim exotic dancer Lisette Hernandez owes them a refund on a condo.
You folks were living in the same hotel that the defendant was living in temporarily. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where you became friends?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Well, we didn't become friends there. We became friends at work.
Okay. Don't tap. And there came a time when you were going to buy a condo. Is that right?
Yes.
And you approached the defendants to see if they wanted to rent a room in your condo that you were purchasing.
Exactly.
According to these papers, you said yes?
Yes.
And you needed some money.
Exactly.
How much money did you need?
$700.
And as sort of a down payment on their room, you gave her the $700?
Correction, Your Honor, that was $750. I have 2 contracts here signing. I had to pay a $500 first month and a $250 security deposit.
Okay, can I see what you have there,
Yes,
please?
ma'am. These are 2 pieces of evidence that I have, 2 contracts that Lisette signed herself.
Okay, fine. So let's assume it was $750. This is some contract.
I was in a rush, Your Honor. Grabbed the first thing I could. The next one's better.
Okay. And then, for some reason, which I'm sure that you will tell me, you decided not to move into the condo, and she gave you back $100, according to these papers. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, she has.
And you want the other $650.
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was dancing with me. We were both dancers.
I'm
okay?
sorry, I'm 16
And I made
years old.
$3,000.
I'm 16 years old.
I made $3,000, and she know that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 16-year-old Nicole Ambrosini and her 20-year-old boyfriend, Moses Cruz, want the money back on a condo from exotic dancer Lisette Hernandez. Lisette says they moved out without giving notice.
Well, there came a time, I gather from these papers, that you moved out of the hotel but did not move right into the condo.
Right, Your Honor.
Where did you move?
Okay, at that time, we needed
This
a
is your
place.
boyfriend?
Yes, this is my boyfriend, Moses. We were looking for another location to live while we were waiting for the condo. We were going to just stay in the hotel. It was very expensive, so Lisette kindly offered us to stay in her boyfriend's house and pay $100 a week. We did that, and we stayed there for about 2 to 3 weeks, I believe, and we paid him for every week. At that time, we were told that she needed the money immediately, and we gave that money to her within 3 days because she had said she had a closing to meet. And it would
Closing
be,
on the condo.
Yes.
I understand that.
She said it would be about a month to get it, okay? So in our minds, we're thinking, okay, we only have to tough this out for about a month. We wound up not getting a condo or not moving into a place for 3 months. We were waiting to move in for 3 months.
Just a minute.
For 3 months, Your Honor.
Did you stay in the boyfriend's house for 3 months?
Yes. No, we did not. We stayed in the boyfriend's house for about 3 weeks. The other times we were staying at the hotel, and then my father was moving out of his apartment, and he was moving out half of the month early. So
you moved someplace else.
Yes. Right.
But there came a time when you ultimately said to her, I don't want to move in.
Right.
And when was that?
That was in, I guess, February, March, April.
How much
April.
after you had left the hotel and moved into the boyfriend's house did you tell her, I want my money back, I don't want to move in?
About a month.
That's a lie.
Okay, you tell me.
That's a lie. It was 1 day. Okay, this is what happened. When they moved into the apartment with my boyfriend, with me and my boyfriend, they was paying $100 a week, which is true. Okay, now, when they was moving out, I didn't know they was moving out. My boyfriend tells me one day, Lisette, do you know that they moving out? I said, what? He said, yeah, they moving out. I said, no, I don't know nothing about it. He said, well, I'm getting ready to leave, so when I leave, you talk to them and ask them. When I came to you and asked her, I said, Nicole, y'all moving out? She said, yeah, we moving out. My father left me. Wait a minute. My father left me My father left me an apartment, and I'm going to move into it, and we're going to keep paying the rent there or whatever to stay there. I said to her, so what do you expect me to do? You expect me to take the money right now and just give it to you when I don't have it? You know I'm trying to get this condominium, and I don't have the money right now to give to you. Okay, but before that happened, one day we had went out, or we was working or whatever. She was waitressing, and I was working in a place where we was working at. I made $4,000 that day, and I said to Nicole, I said, here, you know, I gave her like $1,200 to help her out or whatever. I never asked her for the money back. I never said nothing to her.
Listen to me. Listen to me.
Your Honor,
that's exactly what it was, $1,200.
Miss Hernandez, I'm going to simplify this. I've just, while you've been telling me this whole story, been looking at these two papers. These two papers, I assume that you recall signing. Is that right?
Right, and I agreed to pay her back the money. I did.
Okay, so
and I told her that I would pay for it as soon as I'd be able to get the money.
You signed the contract. So you owe her the money.
Right.
How much did you pay her back?
$100.
So you owe her $650.
Right, but she moved to Texas. But how did she expect me? I live in Florida. She lives, hold up. She gave me an address and expects me to make her money order every week and send her $50.
She said she would do
stamp
that.
and everything.
Moses.
I said to her, let me finish.
Sorry,
they said they will come back to they was moving back to Florida, whatever.
Miss Hernandez.
She said that.
Moses.
Moses.
You got to train him better.
I try, Your Honor. I try.
You got to try harder. If you don't do it now, it'll be too late. Do you understand?
Yes.
They get into bad habits.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Hernandez, you owe her the $650.
Right.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $650.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. I wanted to make this easier for you, but in that time that I was struggling, trying to get money back, broke, Lisette wasn't paying us, my mother, who is a witness here today, sent me $300. I was living independently at the time.
What are you lecturing about? Just a second. What are you lecturing about? You sued for $650. I gave you $650.
Okay.
Say goodbye and thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Nerves.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm a dancer, number one. She was dancing with me. We were both dancers.
No. I'm
okay?
sorry, I'm 16
And I made
years old.
$3,000.
I'm 16 years old.
I made $3,000 and she know that.
We won, we have our money, it doesn't money.
And you're still a little liar. Okay, you're still a little liar.
Better
you got
than
your
a prostitute.
She's a bigger prostitute.
28-year-old Portia Pendleton says her former friend, Jerry Lehman, asked if he could take topless photos of her on his Harley-Davidson in exchange for a modeling fee. Portia claims she did the topless photo shoot, but Jerry never paid her the money he promised.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise.
Judges number 195 on the calendar in the matter of Pendleton versus Lehman. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
All right, Miss Pendleton, you say Mr. Lehman owes you $1,200 for something about a photo shoot, negatives, and a Harley motorcycle. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
I found it rather difficult to follow the flow of your complaint, so why don't you tell me about this photo shoot first?
Okay, well, basically, in June of 1996, Mr. Lehman approached me with a business opportunity. He told me that...
How did you know Mr. Lehman so that he could approach you?
Oh, he approached me at the bar and restaurant that I worked with. He'd been coming in there for approximately 2 years, and I've gotten to know him over that period of time. So in June, Mr. Lehman approached me. He stated that his motorcycle was going to be published in a magazine on the parts, the custom work he does on Harleys, and he needed a model to model with his motorcycle. He told me that the magazine that it was going to be published for was called Easy Rider. It was a biker magazine, and the pictures detailed, bikini, and some of them were going to be topless. And, I checked them out. They were a little cheesy, but not really bad. And I went ahead and I bought a copy of the magazine and the type of pictures that I was told I was going to be taking. At that point in time, I told Mr. Lehman I'd be interested in doing it. I was told that it would cost, I would be paid $1,200 if I did my own hair and makeup, and he would take the pictures.
So what you're saying is he said that he would pay you $1,200 to do the photo shoot.
Yes.
Totally incorrect.
So at that point in time, I went down to a shop probably in the middle of October, and we went ahead and took 2.5 rolls of film. I told Mr. Lehman that, one, I wanted the set closed because I didn't want a whole bunch of people, you know, lagging about, around. And the second thing is that once we were done with the shoot, that I get the negatives and the pictures back of the pictures that he wasn't going to use, because I just didn't want them, you know, floating all over the place. The only reason that I didn't get an agreement, a contract with Mr. Lehman is because I've known him for 2 years. I considered him a friend, and I thought I could trust him. If I would have known that it would come to this point, I would have had him go through my agency to get me to take these pictures. I have my portfolio book here with the type of shots that I normally do.
Not interested.
Okay.
I assume from the fact that you have a portfolio, and you said something about your agency, that you are really a model and you work in this restaurant that you work in sort of to make money.
Part-time. Yeah,
Part-time.
Try to.
In between modeling jobs. Is that correct?
Yes.
When you have a modeling job, you do the shoot and you get paid.
You do get paid, but it's a billing process. The agent bills the client, and you get it within 30 days.
Right. Now you're not dealing with an agent.
Yes.
You're dealing with a friend.
Yes.
So you do the shoot. Did you say to him, give me my money?
No, I expected that it would take between 2 to 3 weeks after it was published.
Why after it was published? When you do a magazine or a photo shoot, you do it, and they may publish it 6 months later. They may never publish it, but you get your money.
Well, because that's what Mr. Lehman had told me.
What did he tell you?
He told me that after I took the pictures, the magazine normally takes between 2 to 3 weeks to go ahead and pay. And that's what he was going to give the money for.
Something doesn't sound right there to me. You're not waiting for the magazine, Miss Pendleton, to publish your pictures. You don't give a rat's behind whether the magazine publishes your pictures or not.
No, that's true.
Right? You were doing the photo shoot for him.
Yeah.
Unless your arrangement with him was that you only got paid if the magazine bought the pictures.
Correct.
That's what he says in his answer. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
But he was saying that he was going to wait and give you the money until after he received the pictures were published. That's what he told me.
You can look at me with those gorgeous brown eyes all you like, Miss Pendleton, but I'm telling you, if you're in the business, you know that a magazine could say, I'm not publishing this picture, I don't like this lady, I don't like what she looks like, I don't want the bathing suit, I don't like her hair, I don't like her figure, I don't like her face, and I'm not going to publish the picture.
Yeah.
Right? So unless your agreement with Mr. Lehman was that you got paid if they selected your picture, your conversations with him about waiting until after the magazine was published doesn't make sense.
Okay, Your Honor, I would like to introduce a witness because Mr. Lehman had stated the conversation with another individual.
Oh, I will hear your witness. And your name?
Stacy Kirsten.
Who are you?
I used to work with Porsche at this bar and restaurant many months ago. And I met Jerry because he used to come in there once in a while, and he introduced himself to me with a business opportunity, which never really came to be, but he told me that he had done these pictures with her and that they were published, and he told me, quote unquote, he got a very good sum of money for the pictures.
Were the pictures ever published, sir?
No, ma'am.
So that you were just pulling this lady's leg?
I never told her that.
What'd you tell her?
I haven't never discussed Porsche's business with this woman. They are friends. I have met her. I have talked to her on occasions. I have never discussed any business with her at all.
Are you a photographer or a biker?
A biker, not a photographer. I met Porsche. She has done quite a few of these contests, bikini contests, different contests, and when I talked to her, she seemed to always be strapped for money. So I told her, this magazine right here, that if we took pictures and they accepted them, it pays $500, and it states it right in here. She gets $350, I get $150. I told her at that point, because we had an arrangement where I was building a motorcycle that I'd bought, and I planned on selling it to her way before this even happened. I told her that if they went in, she could have my $150, keep the $500. She told me at that point, fine, why don't we just deduct it from the bike?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He made a comment that if she had slept with him, he would have given her the bike for free. God is my witness, he said that.
And later today,
He offered to pay you $12 for your cat.
$12.50, Your Honor. He tells me the cats are disposable.
I suppose he feels that same way about his dog.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jerry Lehman says he took topless photos of his friend Portia Pendleton so they could enter the pictures in a contest. Portia says she was to be paid no matter what.
She took the pictures, sir.
Yes, we took the pictures.
All right, so let's move on with it.
But she never filled out the release form and the other requirements, so they could not be sent in.
Did you ever fill out release forms?
No, and the reason that was never done is because I had never agreed to do a contest, and this is a letter that Mr. Lehman wrote me, and he states that a photo of you holding the signed release form with your driver's license is required. Now, if he's stating that I went down there knowingly to enter this contest, why was that never done? Because we had never had that type of agreement.
Well, just a second. Why didn't you have her sign the release when she came into the photo shoot?
To be honest with you, I didn't think about it. I've never done it before.
Good question.
Thank you.
I had not gone through their requirements and read all their requirements. All I knew is I had a few friends that had their girlfriends in the magazine. They said, send it in. When I went through and read everything after we took the pictures, got in touch with her and said, okay, we need to do this.
And what happened?
We never got it done. I never did meet up with her.
What do you mean you never got it done?
I would only meet her where she worked.
So why didn't you bring it to where she worked?
She would only come in on certain days when she had a client. Lots of times I would go. She never showed up for work.
All right. Did you ever have a discussion with her about returning the negatives and all the other pictures to her?
No, ma'am.
Well, where are all the pictures and the negatives?
When I moved my facility in April, we cleaned out the office because I was moving into a small place. I threw everything away. It's 5 months after the fact. I didn't need it. I threw away a lot of my own stuff.
So you don't have them anymore?
No, ma'am.
You understand that if, in fact, any of these pictures surface, she now has the basis for a very substantial lawsuit against you. You understand that? Based upon what you just said to me.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to rethink that? Where are the pictures and the negatives?
I can only tell you the truth. They've been in the dumpster since April.
You better hope nobody takes them out.
Your Honor, he had even made comments to me when I discussed a business proposition with him. He made a comment that if she had slept with him, he would have given her the bike for free. God is my witness, he said that. So, I mean, I think he has these pictures, and he did tell me they were published. He said
Just a second. Listen to me. If he told you at some time that the pictures were published, he made a lot of money, that's because he is a blowhard. Right?
It is true.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the $500 that you gave him for this bicycle.
Okay, because
Did you give him $500 as a down payment for the bike?
Yes, I gave
Good.
him. And he gave me the key.
Did she give you $500 for the bike?
She has never given me a penny in her life. And what they need is lie detector machines sitting right here on each table.
Show me the canceled check for the $500 that you gave him.
I didn't give him a check, I gave him cash, but he gave me the key to the motorcycle, and he told me that he would deliver the motorcycle in a couple of weeks because it was having mechanical problems.
Where did you get the $500 from?
From working.
So you keep all the money that you make in cash?
Some of it, yes, and then, when I do my modeling jobs, I have the checks and I deposit them into my account.
In a bank account?
Mm-hmm.
In a checking account, because that's where you keep the money that you receive, because you have to pay taxes on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You write checks for your rent, right?
That's true.
You write checks for your telephone,
but
right? Right?
That's correct.
You write checks for your credit cards, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe you. It's Kate. I believe him. I believe that what you just agreed to do was to do a contest. I don't believe that he agreed to pay you $1,200 even if the pictures weren't published. That's a lot of nonsense. He's not a photographer. He's a biker. And I don't believe that you gave him $500. So your case is dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back go to your right.
For a bottle of booze, you're going to give somebody a key to a $3,500 Harley Davidson, especially, you know, somebody that you're not in any type of relationship
Key don't do
for.
any good without the motorcycle.
And now the next case.
Parties on Malcolm versus Tripp. Step forward, please.
Attorney John Malcolm says his cat Virginia
Xin chào tất cả mọi người, chào mừng mọi người đã quay trở lại channel của mình. Hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn mọi người cách làm một tờ giấy nốt có dán hình icon nhé. Ở đây mình sẽ sử dụng tờ giấy màu tím và vàng. Tiếp theo dụng cụ gồm có thước, kéo, bút chì, bút màu, hồ keo. Giờ chúng ta sẽ bắt tay vào làm nhé. Đầu tiên thì mình sẽ vẽ hình cái icon lên trên tờ giấy màu vàng trước. sẽ kể vào với tờ nốt nhé. Mình sẽ kể về kích thước là 5 x 7. Như vậy là tờ giấy nốt của mình đã hoàn thành xong. Nếu như mọi người cảm thấy video này hay và có ích, hãy để lại cho mình một like, share và đăng ký kênh nhé. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người ở những video tiếp theo.